leader.
All right, we are on, Commissioner.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. For the first item, minutes from the previous meeting.
I am moved to approve the minutes of the meeting.
Question too. On the minutes, Kirby suggested that road department go back 5 years, get an idea of how much money we needed for matching funds. We answer that question now, since it's in this meeting.
We're gonna go into that.
Since it's here, can I say, was it done? Was that easy
Yeah, it
question?
got done, I didn't get it out. No, I went in and sat down with Doug and we went back 5 years.
Okay. That's all I
Yes,
need.
you do have it.
I apologize, I didn't get it even handwritten up for you, it's all chicken scratch on a piece of paper. I don't even have it in my head, it was too much,
Okay.
too many numbers.
Hmm.
But I do have it and I apologize for not having that ready for you.
Did I answer that?
Yeah,
I'm out next week, when's our next meeting, a month? Yeah, I'll get it out to everybody before that. I said, I just gotta make it more organized so you guys can understand it.
and I know we got this budget today, but Kirby also requested that the 21 and 22 road and bridge budget be emailed to our committee. Did we ever get it in a timely fashion? I never got it.
So we just did their budget. That's, I just did it today for you for the rest of it.
Okay.
I guess timely fashion that's probably not a good deal on my part, but budget, they're not even approved yet.
Oh, okay. There he is.
Pardon us.
Blame it on the heat,
What's that?
blame it on the heat.
I know, Heat-
COVID's over,
heat and
so we gotta
COVID.
blame it on someone
Yeah.
else now.
right?
Hires. Hopefully not
Yeah,
hires.
hopefully not yet.
Yeah, hopefully not yet.
And,
We're going through the minutes
Okay,
and, motion. No second yet.
yeah, I've got a copy.
We answered a couple of questions. The state. 5-year.
Oh,
Your chicken scratching that you're gonna get
I
out.
met with Doug and we went back 5 years and got all of our grant match.
Oh, what
stuff,
you
but
expended.
it's still in chicken scratch stuff and I apologize to everybody now, I apologize to you, I didn't have it ready to go.
Yeah, in the works. Okay.
Here a second? You got any other discussion on the minutes? Hearing none? I'm not sure if we can do much on this next one coming up here, but just an update on all the external communications plan that we'd all pondered over and worked through that. Have we done any at all? The, outreach to the public.
We had talked about, and we need to read the minutes, but we had talked about waiting until we had, well, we were talking about doing some of the positive stuff. Is anything McKinsey or not? about the stuff you're working on. We were gonna wait until we started the levy. Wrong? It's been a month. Why?
I know we did the poster, or banner for West Lake Fork, right?
Yes, and I also did banners for the road closure on Lick Creek, starting the 19th through the 29th for the Xena Creek Bridge replacement.
Okay.
We have banners up on both sides of that. We've had them up I got them up last week. Plus Mackenzie, our PR person, has given all that information to the Forest Service, so it's hitting a lot of people. That's a major route to close for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it is.
Long detour. Besides to go, oh, I'm gonna go this way anyways.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jeff,
welcome to.
on outreach on that too. I know that, have you been to Johnson Road? Do we need to do another road so that it's not there before we close Liquor?
Yeah, you're talking Johnson Road.
Johnson Creek Road.
Oh, Johnson Creek. Yes, we're starting on that. We're starting up Lick Creek on that side, so I can get the low boys and logging trucks in on the 19th. Not beating the tar out of them. Johnson Creek. Depending on my timeline, I think I'm scheduled to get a blade on the East Fork. We're gonna mag the East Fork
Yay.
on the 28th.
Yeah.
So.
He knows that.
We're watching
Yeah,
that.
so we're gonna start on that, probably about the time that Lick Creek's gonna be closed, we'll be working on Johnson Creek and East Fork.
Mhm.
Right now, my backcountry road grader's in ready and getting a whole bunch of warranty work done on it before the warranty.
That's all going out in public.
When's
We
Johnson
gotta
Creek?
do something like that. That's kind of a big deal.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
And then he
About Lick Creek.
Yeah, kind of a big deal.
Yeah, 'cause
I
we got,
saw Lick
She-
Creek
she's supposed to
on
have
our
it on there.
Facebook, I think.
yeah, 'cause all the side-by-sides, you would be just amazed
Yeah.
how many come in.
I got
It's
that
just
to
nuts.
McKinsey probably 3 weeks
It
Yeah.
ago.
was in the paper
Okay.
last week.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Lick Creek was.
Yeah, about the road closure, yes,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
been in the newspaper, it's on Facebook,
Oh, good.
Forest Service has it on their Facebook. Word of mouth, but yeah, it's a major side-by-side route that,
Right.
there's no detour around Xena Creek.
No.
Is there like a flashing sign? Borrow one from the forest?
What?
Like road closure?
The banners are 4 foot by 4 foot,
Okay, so
Sign.
that's what it says.
red letters on white.
Okay,
Yeah, it's,
that's perfect.
they're
It's
definitely
very
big
well
and they should catch your eye if you're paying
Sounds pretty accurate.
attention. Have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not real.
Wonder, I know it's Nago County, but a lot of people go through 2/Warren. Lick Creek.
Mhm.
100 foot. And just to.
Yeah, they
just
do.
to-
They go around that way.
They have to come off. All the way back.
They'd have to just come out,
They could do that, but. I don't know.
Can the side-by-sides go
I
down South Fork though?
No, you're only allowed on that 2
Oh.
miles between Buckhorn and
Yeah,
Jakey
there's-
Well,
Creek.
you could go on
Can't
Johnson
get all the way
Creek.
through.
Johnson Creek.
They could go Johnson Creek.
Yeah, yeah. That's a long ways if they would. There's a lot of that loop stuff that
Right.
goes on. I'm just thinking maybe,
Uh-huh.
at least post something if there'd be something I can. Something like that.
you get from Buckhorn over to Cow Creek.
Buckhorn to where?
Cow Creek, I mean,
Single track motorcycle.
just seeing.
So you'd like something sent to you post
Post-
in Warren?
I
Yeah,
think so,
I think
because
so.
there is a lot of traffic, a lot more than there ever has been. We
Yeah.
held out there for 8 days and.
What about like that snippet in the newspaper that is exactly what my banner says? We could get that to the bomb shelter.
Let's get to the bomb shelter and then they stop and see.
Uh-huh.
Little stage stop.
Yeah.
We put something in yellow pine? Should we put something in yellow pine to,
Yeah, probably wouldn't hurt.
because side by side, well,
Oh, that's
Wayne,
their.
Wayne Dingman's not an LEO anymore from the Forest Service, so you can probably make it up and down the South Fork and not get caught on a side by side.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, because if we don't post anything on that side, they're gonna
Well, except if they go to Johnson Creek, you'd have to go back up the highway.
Right.
Started, so that
Right.
won't work either.
I
So,
think the bottom line is that.
Let me go back just a second. You said, something about South Fork and not being able to go up.
Side-by-sides are only allowed between Phoebe Creek and Buckhorn Creek. Because that used to be a loop around Teapot for ATVs and side-by-sides, 50-inch. The old LEO that retired was busting people left and right this spring back there antler hunting. Outside that area on their side-by-sides. I've asked the Forest Service about it and they said because it's paved and the speed people are going on that road. I can guarantee you people go faster on Johnson Creek than they do on the South Fork.
Yeah.
So I'm not supposed to be where on mine?
And go down the
South
South Fork.
Yeah.
Between Worm Lake Highway and the East Fork.
Oh, I do it all the time. I didn't know that.
Right.
Okay.
Let me make a phone call here real
well,
quick.
it is kind of posted.
Admitted guilty
It is kind of posted, you see those
Oh, it
signs
is?
along there, yeah.
Well,
Well,
they're
maybe
gonna
I'm
have,
wrong
the
there.
eyes are gonna be there the same regardless of who's.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of who, I mean,
Got a person there at Cressel, operation. Oh, it's-
The Rec Tech, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who they
That's
are
our
this year.
solution.
so if we hit your end of the world, Warren, CSAS, stage stop,
Right.
South Fork.
needs
some
something.
on Johnson Creek too. Well,
You can do a loop, Johnson Creek, South Fork.
yeah,
If
you
have
can.
something on the South Fork, not to go back up that way.
Well, I mean, we've got the sign at the 3 Mile Road, which is 1 mile from the South Fork, East Fork intersection down to the 3 Mile Road. We've got one of our banners
Okay.
right there. And the road is closed 2.8 miles ahead.
Yeah.
So that's, you turn around and go back 1 mile, they can go up South Fork.
That one's okay.
That'll
Yeah.
work.
And the other one's at Snowden, into the pavement out around Little Lake.
So when were you gonna plow Creek?
Probably next December.
Next
Well,
December?
you said plow it, it's not gonna snow till then.
No, I mean, graded.
28th of July, right?
No, we're gonna mag the East Fork, so I've gotta get started about the middle of July on the East Fork anyways. Yeah. Probably somewhere around that
Bit
time.
on the Johnson Creek, no?
It depends on my timing. We might have to bypass Johnson Creek and get going on the East Fork.
Oh,
But we might just bounce down Johnson Creek and just hit the real bad spots for right now to get all the mag trucks in. We're talking.
Yeah, 'cause
We're
you gotta
talking 400 tons of material that North American's gotta haul in there.
Any other update on the external?
Communication.
Responded.
I'll put that on
Oh, wait.
next month's.
No exception of some social media posts with info. That plan wrapped into an overall communication plan for the commission consideration on the agenda, July 26th.
Yeah.
Just got word from the Forest Service the other day, Vicky's not here to change our website, but Elk Summit is open.
Yeah.
Which means Monumental will be open. That's it for our summits for the year.
yeah, Monumental and they're both open. Yeah, it's been open for.
Is it?
Actually, yes.
That's one of the roads that I just travel once a year on, and
Yeah.
I won't go back there until I know it's open, because it's way back there.
Probably comes to put that out.
Yeah, she could put that out. Creek
Elk
Summit,
Summit. Monumental.
Okay, well, let's go on to the big one. Our budget, capital improvement plan. I put capital improvement plan in there. If there's any update on that.
That is right now.
So current budget,
Discussion?
Jeff, do you want to start on your current budget?
The current budget,
That's in front
I
of
think
you.
we're a little over 6 million for 2022. Got a few, we're gonna be contracting some work out next year, so we can hopefully start catching up on some of these roads that are just flat falling apart. Be like, Heinrich. Getting my brain.
You got the East Fork you got to work on, or East Lake Fork stuff.
No, that's this year.
We're going to do that this year?
Do West Lake Fork this year.
West Lake Fork will be done this year.
And
East-
East Fork section.
East Lake Fork will have an overlay on it to hold it together until the grant. That just went out to RFI last week, I believe. I think that's scheduled for 2026. Worked with Doug. They might be able to bump it to 2024, so we've started putting money into a trust, pay for that match when it comes up here in a few years, it'll be about $400,000.
How much?
From the bridge to the highway. Section that's right away, wetlands.
Name it.
You name it, it's in that last one. It'll be like what we're doing this year, $600,000 in the third back. That's still up for discussion whether we open the budget or not, if it's all back from the highway. About $500,000. Check that out this year. Next year, we'll probably, what did I have for contract next year? Can't remember.
As far as paving?
Yeah. I think I had Heinrich on there. Spring Valley. I had, we put another $1 million in the budget next year for contracts, which is about 2.5 miles of work.
A contractor will come in and do the entire road.
Yes, you have to do it all inclusive. Flagging, pulverizing, paving.
Guys, we're getting all of the information on the capital improvement, not just the road. Not been approved by the commissioner, so this is a draft. This is just.
Well, help
the beginning.
Help me understand this, Jeff. The budget for paving went up 1,300% to 836,000. It's been 60,000 for the last 3 years.
That's
That
about,
tells me you're gonna do a lot of paving.
we're gonna do a lot of paving ourselves.
Then what is $100,000 in contract paving? Is that separate from the subcontractors you're getting to do this
That's-
work?
Budget, that doesn't sound right.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's about the last page on proposed budget. Yep, it's these top couple three.
Doesn't sound right.
Yeah, the first line in the
Contracts paving. Oh, that,
The point I'm getting at, I see, this huge increase because you got a paving, you're gonna pave now. But what are you doing with contract pavers at 100,000? Do we even need that?
I will tell you while Jeff's looking at it, he can help confirm. So during the conversation, the commissioners are saying, we have to do more than you're able to do. So I don't care what line item it's in.
paving
It's-
by,
Jeff can do a certain amount of paving and his is going to be more repaving. Like Old State Highway. Old State Highway, if our guys did it, I mean, it's how many, a mile and a quarter, something like that. To pull it all up, pulverize it, it would take a month. or if not longer. And we don't have this team to do that. So Granite's gonna do it. We put it out for a request for a proposal so we can get it done. People are tired of that road. I don't blame them. So in the proposal, we said, what is it gonna take for you to do? And we started naming off some roads. East Lake Fork, Heinrich. There is a section down here in Cascade that needs to be redone. It's
Lake Shore.
Lake Shore is a mess. So we started looking at what are the major projects that he needs to accomplish. We know that Jeff's department is really a maintenance department. What can he do that's maintenance and not heavy road construction? Because then if we put the guys on heavy road construction, we need to hire 5 more people. And so we're looking at it like, Jeff, what is it that you can identify that is maintenance that you can do in your department with the team you have? And then what do we need to do to accomplish that?
I totally agree with Jeff as a maintenance. Why do we buy a paver?
I guess that's a good question.
That's maintenance, a lot of overlays, some of this stuff that doesn't need. Old State Highway's got about 4 layers of asphalt on it. Some of these roads like Heinrich, Spring Valley, Lake Shore, we can go in and drop our rippers on our road grader and we can break that 3 inches of asphalt up small enough where we can just lay it back out. Old State Highway where it's 7 inches thick, we've got to get a pulverizer in there that runs about $1. It's either $1, basically 90 cents a square yard, I think, is what we gotta pay a pulverizer for. Well, that's, I mean, yeah, we're maintenance, paving is part of maintenance. You know, overlays, a lot of this stuff can be prevented if we can get back to doing overlays and chip seals.
Well, it just seemed to me if you went up 1,300% to 836,000 paving, you're a maintenance company, you would have had to hire more people. You said you got to hire more people by the fact that you go into an extended work that you normally didn't do. It seems to me you're going to get bigger and you're going to hire more people just by the fact that you bought the equipment.
Right. I think it is too. That doesn't make sense, Gary. I mean, I'm glad you caught that because I think it got put in the wrong line. I've caught 2 or 3 things in here that were, well, like I had $5,000 in capital buildings. They put in $500,000.
Right, yeah, I saw that.
It's just, you know, fat fingers or wrong line.
We were working the budget. and
I don't
we take
know.
what we get by getting it.
No, that pointed
Fine.
something out to me that I need to go get with Doug next week.
A different line,
For
it's still
tomorrow.
within that budget. And that's gonna be my underlying question to you guys. I mean, we have increased his budget, tremendously increased his budget to try and get some of the road work done that needs to be done. I mean, chip sealing is another one that, there's a lot of roads that need to be chip sealed. And with the 3 roads that Jeff ended up having issues with this year, he's not getting to the work this year that needs. So we're pushing, if you can't get to it, and they can't. That's just a legitimate, you can't get to it, you can't get to it. We need to put it out there for bid to other people. But how much do we need to be spending per year above and beyond our budget get to accomplish some of this work? And that's what I've got up on the board. I need input from the community. Because people are very frustrated, but we can spend $6 million in a heartbeat. So,
And even if you reverse those figures, the other argument would be, why are we buying hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of paving equipment? We only have $100,000 in the budget we're saving. We're not. It didn't make sense. I have a problem with that. And then to get back to your issue, I totally agree that Jeff's department is maintenance. Are these potholes still out here? Why aren't the shoulders graded? We're not doing the maintenance, which is destroying our roads, requiring these big amounts of money to have Granite come in and repave them. That's the issue, and I hate to be critical, but You went in 2016, Jeff, correct? You took over 2016.
I've been there 5 years, but somewhere around there.
You had $3 million in carryover. Since then, you've added over $4 million to that. And during that whole time, our roads have fallen apart. We don't have a money problem. We've got a maintenance, getting it done problem. We came in here with looking to give him funds. Don't know that that's our directive now, except to get the work done. Direct him how to do the work for some of it.
I'd
Because
like
I
to
don't think we have a money problem.
I'd like to respond to that, because that's been my concern for the last 2 years. After doing this much detailed work for the last 2 years, we do have a money problem, it's just when it happens. So I am going to support Jeff in making this statement. The county has been very conservative in the way that they spent the money. Absolutely no doubt about it. There has been a fund growing, and that's why this year we're saying we need to start using some of these carryovers. It's time to put the work, out there and get the work done. There has been a large concern since 2017 when we did not get that SRS money. They went from getting, $3 million a year to $75,000 that year. And people became very concerned and just went, oh, we don't know what we're getting. And so instead of relying on that $3 million a year, now they've started going, we need to save our money because we don't know what next year holds. So in that cycle, now is that moment where we're saying we have enough in savings to be able to carry us for a couple of years. We need to get out on the roads, get the work done. Fortunately for Jeff, his department's been cut 5 guys in the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, substantial amount of labor for the summertime.
This year's cut there.
Yes, the budgets were cut. I'm trying to think. It was probably 2017 when you didn't get the
Yeah,
SRS.
it was right around Curtis's time. Curtis was here when that happened.
So the clerk's office kind of said, wait, we can't do any more than what we absolutely know that we can spend and keep the lights on and keep the roads plowed. Snow plowing is one of the major things that we've planned around in the past. So there's a lot of frustration dealing with the roads right now. And we have a savings account that is where I would like your input on making sure how we're spending that savings account. We pushed Jeff this year. If you can't do it, that's fine. Go out and bid it to get it done. Because Old State Highway wasn't gonna happen this year after West Mountain happened and Thunder City happened, and 60 Lane happened. So he's spent a lot of time. You've been a month over on West Mountain right now,
Right at a month and just.
getting it fixed. So those were the emergency things that we didn't know about. And it's not necessarily the
know
money.
about West Mountain. Go be in on this one. I mean,
So,
it's been a bad road for,
yes, so this is
On one
on,
section.
this is on the section that we skipped back when Jerry was here. Because Tamarack had said they were gonna take care of that section of road. Over the years, the soft spots have gotten worse and worse. I don't know what happened this winter. I've heard rumors that the frost didn't get deep enough in our roads this winter because of our freeze-thaw cycles. Those roads pumped all winter. Thaw came out. It's like somebody went right down the middle of the road with a knife, stuck an air hose in there and blackened. Sunk a road grader out there. The road looked solid. Road grader sunk. I had to get one of our big loaders out there to lift him out of that hole. It was almost impassable till about a month ago. Well, I've spent, we're probably pushing $150,000 on that, and that was not budgeted. It's
60 Lane, we buried 2
two garbage trucks.
garbage trucks.
the question I have, and I think I know where 2 or 3 of them are at. When we have a number of roads that we're gonna have the same issue. We've got, comes to mind is that Norwood, that south end of Norwood. It gets used, I mean, I don't know what they, but it's just a mess out there. I mean,
out between Shaline and,
Yeah, just.
yeah, there's that one section right there just off of Shaline, that's the same thing. I'm trying to get, I gotta get Thunder City done this year, I gotta get 60 Lane done, and that little 300-yard stretch on Missoula, or Norwood. That's the problem with a lot of those roads,
If you're ever gonna bring them up, it's gonna cost that kind of
There's a
money.
reason that ditch on the side of the road is called the borrow ditch. Gary probably knows this. That's where they got the original material to get the road above the level of the ditch, or the fields.
Works in the summer.
And over the years, there's no place for the water to go except for to sub into the base of these roads.
Yes, we have some road maintenance issues. And, you know, we're pushing to get money out the door to go and take care of it, but it's not just. We put it out on an RFP for Old State Highway. Josh is the only bidder on it. Right now, the only asphalt plant up here is the one in McCall. Is that still correct? Knife River never came back. The Knife River closed. Yeah, they failed. And so the only asphalt plant is the one that's in McCall if you're not bringing it out of the valley.
Broke down for a couple.
I think so.
Yeah, because I had some work done in my place. Bought all up from Boise.
Yeah, Josh,
It's Sunrock.
yeah, for some reason Josh won't deal with Subaru, so he hauls all his out of Boise.
One question on some of these roads that we're talking about now. You know, some of these really bad roads, should we actually be doing some of them? There's some opportunities maybe with some of these. You know, I mean, one that comes to mind, and I've been told by both Jake Mackey and Will Mackey, he liked to county to abandon that road.
Not plow it.
He liked to get rid of it.
Willis said he does not want to plow that road this winter.
And he don't want it, they don't even want it maintained. I mean, they'd like to have it just on it for their road. It's all
Are they-
runs through their property.
Are they the only ones that reside on
It
it?
accesses
Yeah, they're the
well.
only ones that reside on it. They don't want the road.
Once you get past Norwood, there's 8 or 10 houses out between Missoula and Norwood, but Mackey's basically own that road because it's another easement
Yeah.
road. It goes through Mackey's property.
I've been approached by both of those people. Get rid of that. We don't even want the people running back.
And that's another road probably next year we're gonna have to put a lot of money into because it's just doing the same thing
Yeah,
West
it's an
West
expensive
Mountain
road.
did. Springtime,
I
it's
don't know.
just south of
Where do the other people get in and out?
Or you can either go out to, you go down and come out Fairbrother, or you can go up and come out.
Most of them go to West Lake Fork.
Also go to West Lake Fork. I'd say a compromise should be to work a little bit, put a little more emphasis on Norwood. Be a compromise if you ever get into that position, but the county ought to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and a lot of it, right, from what I understand, is the county does not want to give up any public roads.
There's the county right here.
Now this, we don't have to give up public roads. You don't necessarily have to maintain them. Service
I'd
line.
ban them. What if Mackey sells that property one of these days, and you get subdivisions, and all of a sudden, you've got them that road there, it belongs to the county. Now you really gotta spend money on it. Instead of them saying, oh, okay, if you want to develop in here, you got a roads issue here. You gotta come from Highway 55.
So we are, there's a long conversation ongoing right now about what we are going to require for development to improve existing county roads, to be able to get to under development.
That's future, though.
So,
It's hard to go back.
no, you can't go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's grandfathered, but you know, we can, you know, direct it for the future.
But there may be other roads in Vallecano that, Bill Davis came in about 2 or 3 years ago, asked for a vacation on the road up to his property. Approved it.
No houses out there.
Yeah, there's no houses, so yeah.
Public.
They vacated a bunch in there. That comprises 14 ranches. And Phil Papa Tom, his dad bought ranches, they vacated several of those counties. Still maintains them, but not counting.
Not county. We ought to take a look for opportunities like that. And
I agree with that. Oh, we've started talking about
Yeah.
we snowplow everything, because just because it's historically been
Yeah.
done, I mean, we have to figure out how to live within whatever we're gonna have, the means that we have.
And I'm looking like at Jeff here, listening to all this stuff, basically, I see one issue, and it's cost to fix it. It just simply has to maintain roads during about a 4-month period. You have a big crew to do the job right in a 4-month period, and that's where you suffer.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's what I
You know?
see.
That's
Right
the
now-
gals Forest Service you had to do that, what,
And see, we haven't even touched the backcountry yet.
Yeah.
As Lauren will tell you.
Yeah. No,
And a lot of the
usually
people.
it's done first thing in the spring and there's.
We had nothing
You know,
but
we
problems
know
out
that.
here.
So what, we either ratchet up the maintenance, spend more money, get you some more people, or ratchet up the contract and get the contract. Stay where you are, and more money in the contracting to stay caught up, because like you're saying, I'm watching farm to market slowly fall apart,
Yeah.
and it isn't even on the list. So, we're out there all the time. We're there.
And go East Roseberry,
East Gooseberry's on
there
my
hasn't been
list.
any
but-
shoulder work done on that. 8-10 years.
Yeah, now we're.
Asphalt's just slowly chewing back, and pretty soon it's gonna be a 1 lane.
Yeah.
That's not deterioration, that's lack of maintenance.
Right.
Simple as that. And we have a mission statement, there's gotta be some type of a mission statement with the road department that gives their priority, isn't there? They are to maintain and keep roads open, there's gotta be some kind of statement, Jeff, isn't it, that you live by that says you're to maintain the roads?
Yeah,
not
it's,
improve?
provides, well, it's mine, I don't know if it's in writing anywhere, but provide safe travel to the public.
Then it seems to me that's your priority.
I just to go back to that paving thing. You know, Tension with other people too, we're all kind of, it really is. Keep going, I mean, when you get all these people that, that's their job. Too. It's hard to compete with that. I know it sounds like good on paper sometimes, but the bottom line is the product.
And bottom line too is, can we find the personnel? I mean, right now, the county is struggling to get people.
Well, you,
You can't hire
nobody
anybody.
can hire anybody.
And because there's no housing. I mean,
Yeah.
there's help wanted signs everywhere. So,
Didn't Jeff just tell us 2 meetings ago that he had qualified people to run the paving?
But
He
it's
had
just,
qualified people?
just like when I came up from the ranks at the county, nobody knew how to run a chip sealer. We bought a chip spreader, we figured it out pretty fast. Paver's the same way. I got 4 or 5 guys that have ran a paver before. And yes, I do agree, it's a specialized piece of equipment. But we're not doing mainline paving. It's, it's smaller subdivisions. I got Knob Hill that needs to be repaved. That's something we can do easily. And once you get the,
Yeah, it comes down to having enough people to do the job
Right.
and enough that we can do it.
yeah, kind of like what we've done in the past, we always
And-
dedicated 2 weeks for chip sealing, a couple weeks for paving, and then the rest was maintenance. And the graveling roads, that's, in my next year's budget, I got a lot of money for crushing. Gravel roads wear out, Gary knows this, I don't know if anybody else, every time you drive down a gravel road and there's a plume of dirt behind you going off in the farmer's field, that's part of my road.
Yeah.
And I've got to start getting gravel on these roads again.
So Jeff, on that crushing, on that second line, you have 330,000 for crushing. On that same page.
changed on here?
When we saw that little wish list that was presented to us, you had crushing there, I believe it was 200,000. Is that over and above? Does that now wipe that out?
so we approved 250,000 in this year's budget. And Jeff wanted to get another 300 or 500,000, I thought it was 500,000 in next year's budget. Have enough to work on some of this stuff.
Got it updated. Done. I thought we had that bumped up to about 750,000 to get it big crushing done next year. Last us a couple of
Get it cheaper? Do it once?
Yeah.
years. Another one. Pretty sure we, in there 750.
So we had that up on the board, the carryover money, one of those line items was crushing. Now we can take that off that list because you've got it in your budget to do it now, right?
Yes. If we get a big, you know, if we get it up there, like Gordon always told me, you get the money up, you know, $1 million crushing contract out there. Pricing will go down, you'll get a big company in that can move a lot of material fast.
That would be another thing, is time everything for intercompany for
Yeah,
significant amount of work.
yes. Yeah, it would go out, I mean, as soon as this budget's approved for whatever, 750,000, as soon as October 1 rolls out, I'm gonna throw out an RFP for it. I mean, our big crushings have come from Depco out of Lewiston. Diatley's been here to do giant crushings for us in the past when Gordon was here.
Good, so you get most of these
Most of our stuff's coming out of Good Pit.
stuff on the hill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, and then I'm gonna split this money and see how it goes. I wanna do a big crushing out of Lake Fork also.
Bridge construction materials and pipe. That's not part of it.
It's not part of the crushing. That's fabric. He's asked me this in my brain. There's 3 line items that are really close together. There's road supplies, there's road construction supplies. Road construction supplies is,
I think some of this points out really that I don't really think going forward. Really keep order to build up a workforce. And do what you need to do in the time.
right.
I still think it's practical.
So that's back to that 2 weeks of chip sealing, 2 weeks of overlays. I mean, that, to me, that's maintenance. Overlays, chip seal. Get back to, I'm still working on, not a green crew, but I've got a couple of new blade operators that still working on. Pulling shoulders is, it's not a simple thing to do because you can do more damage than.
Do you still have the truck, like gravel displayer, that conveyor that?
We need to get a new conveyor.
You don't have one still?
We have it, but it needs money put into it, and it was specifically made for a certain truck, so we'd have to fab it up to fit. We need to put it on a 10-wheeler. They were fabbed up for a little 6-wheeler. I was one of the guys my first few years, and I was like a bumblebee going up and down the highway. It didn't take very long to dump out 6 yards of material.
When do your job, it seems to me, out of shape these shoulders are with the weeds and the roots in those weeds, you cannot roll that dirt back up and put it back in.
Right.
So you go along and kill the weeds, use that truck, drop the gravel, blade sits right on the asphalt and just blades it off
Right.
after the weeds are dead.
Yep. And
I mean, is that something
that's
that you're
something
thinking
that
of doing?
we've been working with. The material, the weed killer that kills it all, roadside killing, very expensive. Steve, my weed guy, has been doing a little bit every year. He's also been putting out, what do you call it, the growth stunt. He can mix it in with his roadside weed spraying, kill the noxious weeds, but it also stunts the grass, doesn't let it grow all in the summertime.
How is it to kill weeds before you do it?
Well, if you leave an organic material in there, you don't want organics mixed with your road. There's quite a bit there. If you drive through, and you start getting grass growing right up against your asphalt, hold moisture, and all of a sudden your shoulders start falling apart.
Quick, to another one. What your department takes think you manage the weed department.
Yeah.
And I've been spending some time on the roads lately. No, that, to me, I really wonder, I have to be critical, I think. I'm going along the east. You got now, iron state wall.
Yep.
Well, that must have been sprayed 3 times.
And-
Should have been.
So, and this is where I'll respond. We've been trying to hire people
Yeah.
for 3 months. There are 3 people behind. He's doing it with one other person.
I've got one road
And we've
department
got-
guy working with him right now.
Here to me is an opportunity
Weeds.
I still think we can do it because of the same reasons.
So I've been trying to get a guy out of Nissa that is working this general area. And I have called him 3 times in the last 3 weeks. One little patch. And I'm not giving, I don't want you guys to think I'm giving, excuses, because I'm not. Right now, the largest concern and the complaint we have is we can't hire people. We've got people standing out the DMV line, and we have increased salaries. We
That's what I'm
have
looking
done-
at, like next winter, start looking at some opportunities for
Yeah.
big operation to come in annually, do a laid out specific section of road.
And I agree with you.
Kind of like,
There is and I just found this for Jeff, we just found a 2005, I think that was when they were doing the RDAs, you may have been a part of it. There was a capital improvement program that was designed for the road department that laid out grids. What you gotta have for each
That
one of
map
these.
right there.
Yeah, that map up there lays out grids. The problem that I see, and I think Jeff is just trying to figure out what, right now, we're just like whack-a-mole. Which road do you fix? And we've got to fix them all. I mean, I'm becoming very concerned about how far behind we're getting. And we get one bid for a section of Old State Highway, we got to have bidders too.
And that-
What was the other?
we threw that out at the wrong time of year. Because it was a unplanned chunk of money from the state that, you throw a bid out in the middle of the summer, we were lucky to get anybody to bid on
yeah, if you want it done this year.
Yeah.
Everybody's busy.
Right now is when you ought to be getting those bids for
it. Next year,
Yeah.
But Jeff, you're fully, you've got a full crew.
I'm fully staffed, I've got a new guy starting. So back to the weed thing, we've come up with a plan, because I have 2 part-time snowplowers. One of them's not coming back this winter. So the guy that's starting on the 15th, he will spray weeds in the summer, snow in the winter. And that way we can put him on as a full-time employee with benefits, instead of trying to bring him on at $15 an hour for 4 months in the summer. Yes, I am fully staffed.
Your experience with that.
Most of them
They're
are.
not greenhorn.
I've got some good trainers out there. Road grader, 90% of our maintenance is a road grader. That's the hardest piece of equipment to learn how to run.
How many know how to run that one? Not enough.
Not
I
enough.
can tell right now.
Yeah, I've got some guys that, once again, I'm gonna say Gary knows this, most of you know this. You either have it or you don't. That is a,
You know what, Jeff,
definitely
you
one of the
almost
hardest.
know the first day you put them on it. too.
Yeah. I can train a monkey to run a road grader, but to operate one, I got all of my crew can,
So Sherry, can I say the excuse of not finding
See
employees
ya.
with the
Good
road
luck.
department doesn't exist
At this moment in
at
time.
this moment?
Last winter, Jeff was fully staffed going into the winter, and in a month, he was 3 down. The county just bought a house over here, and we are gonna prioritize who goes in that house. We're kicking out everybody else that's in the other 2 houses we have over here. We're gonna provide housing. Try and bring on the best employees we can find, so that we don't continue to have employee problems. Because that's been a huge issue.
Well,
And the
not
very
just me, it's for the whole county.
The whole county. The very first question we ask now is, do you have housing? And we have lost some really good
I've asked Pat, our HR, I don't know if any of you know her, but started asking her a long time ago, will you send this guy an offer letter? Make sure they look at the housing issues in Valley County. 2 days later, they call back and say, thanks for the offer, but I just can't do it for.
I think solution the county's using is what all other businesses. When people work, you're gonna have to figure out a way.
I mean, it's everywhere, City of McCall's.
Get back to the old
Housing.
Forest Service barracks days.
Yeah,
Forest Service can't find people. They're way behind.
as soon as unemployment runs out on everybody, there will be people looking for work.
But it's gone now, but Gary, your point is well taken. I mean, we are at full staff right now. And the problem that I have looked at with Jeff, so Jeff has 17 plow routes, right?
17.
So 17 plow routes. So you got 17 full-time employees in the wintertime that you need. If you staff up for 4 months in the summertime, now you got guys in the wintertime that may not have enough work in order to keep them busy. So we're staffed appropriately for our largest season. And then in the summertime, we gotta figure out, how do you bring on either part-time people, which is the problem with the weed department, is you only need them for 4 months of the year. We can't guarantee anybody anything. And we've been looking at labor from juvenile corrections, from inmates, how do you do that? Last year, we got 2 master gardeners that wanted the experience dealing with weeds. So they worked for the summer. So it's the 4-month seasonal employee issue that really creates a lot of problems.
Valley County.
Yeah.
It's Valley County, exactly.
And we've come back to that several times. It's really unique situation. And I think eventually we are gonna have money. I think we're gonna have to recognize the real cost of the roads up.
Yes.
Gotta go, and Gary's made a really good point about this. You have to be maintenance. At some point, you have to be maintenance. This infrastructural improvement, we're gonna have to maybe contract.
Well, and Jeff's point, and what,
Yeah.
what I've heard for the last 2 years is we can do it for half the cost, 60% of the cost, but we can't get there. Yeah, we don't have the people to get there. So it's gonna cost more money to accomplish the same goal. Yeah, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just don't have the
It doesn't
time.
matter how many people you have, if you've only got a month to do it, you can't get it done.
Right.
I agree with that 100%. And it all comes back at the end of the day to the financial. The finances, what can we afford to do, what we cannot afford to do.
And I
And-
think
and
it's a
that's
good
not
time to
fun.
start telling people in the county, we're gonna pay for these roads. I mean, look at the values in Valley County. I'm talking to a guy today that's telling me he has a lot, and he said he cost $100,000 to buy a lot in Yellow.
It does, yeah.
I mean,
It's insane.
you gotta
It's
have,
insane.
they gotta
Now, the
realize if
county
they're gonna
budget-
live in paradise, they're gonna have to truck up for money.
I agree with you. And the county budget can only go up 3%. Doesn't matter what the values are. That just makes it cheaper for the rest of us.
Yeah.
It can only go up 3%.
Well, I'm sorry.
So that's
why you
the,
don't want to.
that's the balance that we're in right now. No,
So back to pay. Question is, we on a typical county employee, equipment operator kind of a thing, set by the whole county. Rates.
so we do,
It's set by those 3 right there.
So can we stipend them? Some stipends? Can we add on to that to make it?
for the 150 employees. The
Well-
special department has
Well, I
the
mean,
same issue.
I mean,
They
just do
did
it
it,
just
they did it for the sheriff's office a few years back. They were in the
Just
same
asking the
boat.
question.
And right now dispatch, just to let you know, 911, we're down 3 employees. 7? It's, yeah, we need,
A really good point, because the areas that, like, for instance, when we work in Forest Service, you put certain places, there was, supposed to live in, forced them to pay a little bit more. And thing that's happening here.
So what we did was, we've done a salary survey of all of the other resort communities, including Blaine County, Kootenai County, places that are just like us. We did a salary survey. We will adjust the pay levels during this year in order to make sure that we are on par with that. So instead of doing stipends, we are comparing job position to job position, apples to apples in resort communities. So, because they have the exact same issues. This is not anything that is just, I just went to a commissioner's meeting. Every 44 counties is saying the exact same thing. We have no housing, we have no, never seen a labor shortage.
Kitchen's been busing employees balls.
Yeah.
Because they can't afford
Got
to
their
live.
own beautiful
For
bus to
years,
do it, yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for years and
Years.
years.
Because they can't pay a lift operator $12 an hour and expect them to live there.
I don't think we're going, it's going to be, you're unrealistic, I think. I think that we're going to do a whole lot about the housing market.
Right.
Other than companies and government agencies. But we got afford housing, part of the deal.
There's a lot of that going on at the governor's
We
office right
used
now.
to contract out the back country. And so now the county's gone, oh, well, we ourselves, but then you don't have the employees to do it. So it seems like this
You can't
huge
afford not to
conundrum.
do it.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
we have to have it, but we
Yeah.
can't do it.
The last time we contracted out, oh, Jerry was still here.
Well, you contracted Buck Cox.
Well, Buck, he was the last one.
Was the last
It was $250,000 a year. Jerry was still the superintendent.
It might be worth it.
I mean, yeah, I've talked to you guys about that. If that's something that I need to look at, I mean, I started contracting the snow plowing in High Valley last winter. Yeah, it costs a little bit more, but we don't have to run fuel up there. If he breaks down at 3 o'clock in the morning, we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
If he needs fuel, we don't have to worry about it.
And it gets done.
And
It gets done, exactly. We don't have to worry about it.
And the other thing is when you amortize that cost over the population and property value now, you know what, it doesn't cost that much money.
No,
Get right down to
it was actually cheaper to hire him than it was to have one of our trucks up there and hire a part-time employee that happened to live up there. That's why I ended up contracting out, because once Dave retired in High Valley, he was 83 years old when he quit plowing 2 years ago for me. Like doing it, like doing a service for his community up there. Well, nobody else up there to do it.
So when you, just kind of try a checkpoint on that, we look at what we're paying for, and one of the things that we have to sell is retirement benefit. Medical retirement, that's worth a lot, so they gotta kind of hopefully look at that when you do that. But how do we compare with, say, Knife River or Josh?
Well, actually, we are starting our employees out higher than Josh started. It
What's an
was,
average salary thing?
what?
Average, in other words, at some point Josh has to pay more, you have to pay more.
Right. So,
Where your guys at?
yeah, as we were losing employees, we would get somebody, train them to run a road grader, teach them how to run a dump truck. 2 months later, they went to Josh because they were paying $2 more an hour. That hurts.
It's hard when you
But
pay for a
now-
pickup truck.
Now it's just the opposite. I got granite guys coming to me for a job.
And our Percy is amazing, benefits are amazing, and I think a lot of people look at
I think Josh,
Yeah.
these big companies like Josh, he's gotten big enough, he's got a pretty good benefit package. It's not the government benefit package that this place
Well,
offers.
I guess the point is, we have to compete with it. You really,
Absolutely.
you want to get the job done.
Gotta stay, compare.
And we are.
And honestly, in every one of our departments, you get appraisers, our appraisal department for our assessor's office. Appraisers out there make a lot more in the free market. But you gotta sell the benefits and the retirement, because when the market drops, there's no more appraisals going on, I mean, this is a
If
stability
you're gonna
issue.
check out a job, you're probably gonna stay on.
So What about
So let's go
OK
back to that.
What about OK Gravel? Because they are doing some stuff for.
Yep.
They're kind of small.
Oh, yeah.
OK's a lot smaller, he's only
Yeah.
got about 5 employees,
Oh, yeah,
86.
yeah.
Brandon's
They've been
got-
up there.
Brandon's got 100 and, I don't know what Josh is.
Well, they must have hundreds of.
140.
Oh, really?
He's
You
everywhere.
go down to Boise, you see more granite trucks than you do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Really?
He's done really good with what he started with.
Is
Let's
that
see a
right?
good
Doing
man.
awesome.
Really is.
So tying this contract back to the budget. We contract out backcountry.
We could look at that again, I mean, there are some companies out there.
And then look at what do we get paid for that? Is that gonna cost us more money? Or is that gonna even out?
It's gonna cost us more.
It's gonna cost us more?
Yeah.
I mean, is it more than what we're bringing in for those backcountry roads?
But then we've got to do the analysis of, so what if it costs us an extra $200 back there? If we have to hire stuff to be done on the
Yeah.
valley floor and it costs us
Exactly.
$300 here, you know, you got to
We're doing
balance.
capital improvement here. They're responsible for maintenance. They're the ones grading. Take care of it in the valley, they go grade. That's what the people happy want them to
Want us to do it, they get to do it.
do. Capital improvement, they'll understand that. It'd be great if they get their road paved. That should be a separate issue. Its focus should be improving these roads.
So Gary, let me-
People to pay the gas tax, then go back.
oh,
I think you do both.
I want to
think you can too.
clarify. I just want to clarify in my mind. So if there is an existing paved road that is deteriorated to the point where it's got to be repaved, are you saying maintenance then is repaving it? Or are you saying that it's taking it back to gravel and just letting it go?
Let's use Old State Highways example, where it has deteriorated to a point that to me, that's a capital improvement. You've got to tear it out, and start over. These roads that are falling apart now, that could be maintained, should be maintained. I mean, I don't mind the bumps, I mean, just like Elk Spring, they're on East Lake Fork. The chuck holes were bad. Finally, it came out. Yeah, you've got to slow down to go through it, but you don't jar your teeth. To me, that's an acceptable, I'll accept that, because it's passable.
Right.
I'd love to have it paved, but then you go down Farmer Market and you're driving around all these huge chuck holes that should have been repaired almost when they happened, that are not. You go on Roseberry Road and you see the road deteriorating coming to the inside. To me, that's unacceptable. That's part of maintenance should be done. Then that's done, then you start bringing it back.
Break it apart, contract back, give them money, let them do it, and if it works, it works. If it don't, that's the other thing, go back to the district. Maybe that ought to be a backcountry district. I know we kinda-
So you're saying no maintenance on the backcountry?
No, no. Never have said that.
Done all
No.
this stuff.
Well, if you do a road district in the backcountry, you're gonna have trails in subdivision, number one. That little bit of money you're gonna get from them isn't gonna go very far. You're gonna get Big Creek, is minimal money. Yellow Pine, lots of money.
Well, yeah, but what you're getting, what, $2,100 a mile, right, for all of it?
But Bear Valley country, there's no houses back there.
I don't think you should be doing it, but you're doing it.
Yeah, right, right.
It should be done, but not at the sacrifice of maintaining
Maintain
our
your
roads.
Right.
Not improving them necessarily, maintaining.
And that's one reason we have not started on the backcountry this year.
Yeah, they're not,
I'm
they're not
hearing a
doing
lot
it. You
of
got your wish.
stuff. Usually as soon as Warm Lake Summit's open, we're
Yeah,
heading down Johnson
yeah,
Creek.
absolutely.
As soon as Deadwood's open, we're headed for Bear
Yeah.
Valley. These roads
You
out
got your
here,
back against the wall, you got work to do.
out here, but not,
This year
Kinda
has been
everywhere, but-
abnormally bad.
How many
No,
people you put in that?
And next year's gonna be just the same.
most of the time two.
Because they got a lot of bad roads.
The last 2 years, I've had two starting this way and two starting that way.
So far,
Four. That cuts my crew down to 11.
But yeah, you need a water truck and a
on most of it back there. Some of the
Right.
stuff, once you go over the top of Monumental, it's dry blading.
And that's not done every year either. is
No.
it? And neither is Big Creek, is it?
But we do it as needed.
Yeah.
Our payment comes from drainage. If the road's rough, you don't care.
We can't get there.
We get paid on drainage.
No, I
If
mean,
it's
I feel
bladed
for
toward the
Jeff,
water
I really
drain
do.
out the
He
road.
gets
Oh,
it
is that
from
right?
That's how we
every
get paid. They
single.
don't care about potholes,
You
they
should
don't care
see
about
some of the
washboards.
emails.
Hmm.
They're the most stupid things in the world.
It's all for drainage.
That's why I kept pushing that back on side. That an entity, make that an entity that stands alone.
However,
Well, that's
our
what we do. We
backcountry
go in there
is
and
so
blade the road for
important to our
drainage.
Yeah.
We crown it,
recreational
outslope it,
programs.
inslope it,
Well,
just so the
So
water
who
drains
did-
off the road.
Okay, so who judges that?
Forest Service has
ITD.
some responsibility.
Oh, the ITD does?
Yep, they come up and inspect about
Really?
10 miles of road every year. Make sure. And they inspect my roads out here on the valley floor too,
Uh-huh.
for drainage. But they don't care about potholes, they don't care about washboards.
Okay, so
Drainage.
let's talk budget for a minute. Let's go
Yeah.
back for a minute.
Yeah, I like the,
Okay, because we're way over time, but I need some input. So, on the capital improvement plan, the committee itself, we graded all of these different projects. Jeff is asking for a road grader, $75,000. I'm thinking that that is best to lease it for 5 years and not just do a one-time purchase. And reduce down that cost of the annual. He needs a small dump truck with a plow. Jeff, will you explain that, guys? Small dump truck is a new one, correct?
Yes,
And the plow is because,
I will be new with it. I have one that's getting built right now and a utility. The upfitting for a truck costs almost just as much. Really darn close, it's almost half and half. Looking at $160,000 for a dump truck to show up to us, we're ready to roll. All we gotta do is put the radio in it.
and that's because your other
Some,
one is,
some of our old little bobtail trucks are the 80s, mid 80s era. You're starting to cost a lot of money. We run double frames on all of our plows, plow trucks. That's where the salt and the mag goes and sits. We got it. We can't take those frames apart to treat them.
Where you plowing with salt, or just going up and down Highway 55?
Going up and down the
Yeah.
highway. Yep, we basically gotta hose this stuff off every day, which is kind of feasible in Lake Fork, because they got a nice big shop up there. They can hose stuff off, pull it in, let it dry overnight. And in Cascade, they'll sit out there for 2 or 3 weeks without getting hosed off because our shop isn't big enough to get them in. You hose them off, next morning you get out there and your brakes are froze.
And then reasons,
Or your hydraulics are froze, or
we gotta
your,
get them in.
they give us money to maintain the roads, then they put salt on it to tear equipment out.
we've had that conversation. So the
Um,
top 3 items are all to do with road plowing. Because there's 3 new plows on there too. Our plows have already lost their life and are starting to crack.
yeah, they're, so back to the road grader. We have one going out of lease October. We paid off, we're keeping it. And we're getting rid of our oldest John Deere, which is a 2010, 8,000 hours on it. 1,000.
Sounds new.
Huh?
Sounds new.
It spent a lot of time in the backcountry. It's a little on the loose side. Um,
Can we quote you on
So that new payment will take place of that other road grader that's getting paid off.
About that then.
What do you do with boilers, Jeff?
With what?
That's not the.
Oh,
the
some
top
of these
3
other
roads.
ones are,
That's
just
what's-
look at the road ones.
Oh, okay. That's right.
And then the 2 one-ton truck
Oh,
is the other one.
we had Jill Campbell.
We had 3 that were critical, so when we did these, we looked at the cost of how much is being expended on each one of these vehicles. And looked at the safety issues, we looked at, we had 6 criteria that we actually rated all these on. Jeff got the top 3. with the most critical. Then some of the other ones within different departments got the very important ones. And then Jeff got an important one, $96,000 for 2 one-ton truck roads.
So the 1 tons, the next, the sheriff's department used to buy half-ton pickups, run as patrol vehicles. We're going to SUVs now. Next 2 that come to us are already at 180,000 miles. Those are going away. They're gonna go straight to auction. Half tons, they work for us, but when you stick a 110-gallon fuel tank in the back and a grader tire, too much for a half ton. These Dodges come with coil springs in the back. They'll come with leaf springs that you can easily slip an add leaf in there or something, and airbags wear out. They get rocks stuck between the bags and air holes in them. So I'm thinking ahead a little bit on these 1-ton pickups, knowing that the next 2 pickups we get from the sheriff's office here in a couple of months, we're not even gonna be able to use them. Big auction.
So those gonna be a motor pool or?
No, these are ours. Sheriff's office is always giving enough to just give us their vehicles when they were done with 120,000 miles on. We could run them up to about 180 before we sold them.
They're already there.
He's already got 180 on them, so.
We got behind in the replacement of sheriff's vehicles. That's 3 years
Couple
ago.
years ago,
Couple
yeah.
years ago. Catch up now. Mileage. So that is what Jeff is requesting on his budget. So that 707 is gonna come down because I think we recommend that we actually lease that, so we don't have such a all upfront one cost or one payment at the front on that road grader.
You've
It is
got one
5 years.
gonna be paid off. Right.
Yes.
So,
That gets
why
taken
don't
out.
you
Yeah,
just take that one in, that payment in, pay this one?
I need to make sure that Jeff's taking that other auto off your budget.
Well, it's just gonna roll right into it.
I know, but
It's gonna
this
stay the
should,
same budget number.
but this shouldn't be there at all then. You've asked for
I'm
something.
pretty sure I've taken that
Paid
off.
off lease to a brand new lease.
Yeah.
It's just because you're keeping that grader hopefully for 10 years or when it gives you
Yeah.
problems.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
have 5 more years to get the next lease paid off.
Yes.
By the time you need to buy another grader, so it's not really a capital improvement, you're just
It's
replacing
rolling.
with the same payment.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of municipalities are doing this. Because, I mean, like right now, one that's getting paid off is, it's 5-year, 5,000 hour, for like 48 something on it. That's our main machine that runs year round. It does backcountry maintenance, it plows snow. It runs 1,000 hours a year. Needs some warranty work done on it, so it's took it down there a few weeks ago to get all this warranty stuff taken care of before the warranty's off. So like Gary said, we're basically starting with a pretty new machine.
It's an inconvenience.
And we
It's
lease.
very inconvenient.
So
So,
we lease on that.
I know you're gonna buy a new grader, but we don't have to find new money.
Right,
Exactly.
It's already there.
right.
And, because I didn't realize, that just came up through the capital improvements, and we just expected.
You said
it
because.
there, so-
it's just-
Yeah, so his then is
It's a-
332, and
78
that's
or
if you
something a
can't
year
lease
we
that
pay.
small dump truck.
So if I was running.
Oh, the one for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. The leases, I haven't even looked at the leases on the small trucks. Leasing the 2 big Kenworths I bought 3 years ago, that we paid off in a couple of years, and those trucks are good. They last as long as our old Peterbilts, we'll have them for 20 years.
So what I'm hearing this year in the capital improvement plan, is that you were catching up on the equipment that you've been behind on purchasing. So now it should just be more of a rotation cycle, not having to spend as much on
That's what I'm
vehicles.
trying to get into is quotation thing, so we don't end up with a 1972 water truck that in the shop more than it is on the road.
So, $107,000 was palatable to the commissioner. We just took $375,000 off of that. Any other catch-up that we could actually put in for, get really in that rotational thing. In other words, is there any other old stuff sitting there?
I want to tell you, it really wasn't palatable to the commission.
Was it okay?
So,
Get in there.
we are, it has not been approved
It's
at
not been
all.
approved
Okay,
yet.
no.
All right, I saw an opportunity there, and I didn't know whether.
And so I get what you're doing,
Yeah.
but, yeah, some of this has got to be cut in all areas of the
Okay.
county right now. We have about $1.1 million identified in future funding, and we have $1.1 million in our, oh my gosh, the word just went, in our, in our foregone. Yeah, so what we were trying to do was split the foregone with both road department and the county, and right now, the county needs $1.1 million.
So can you, what is happening in the foregone? It doesn't make any sense to me anyway. That's money. Something about not being able to use it, maybe being able to use it.
If we take foregone this year and take all of it, we cannot take any other increase. That's it. We take the 1.1 million out of foregone. Normally, the county's budget is based upon 3%
3%.
growth plus a percentage.
Which way is the best for you?
So that way, we would get about, Doug said 700,000.
3%.
At 3% and new. But then foregone is sitting there, and the only thing we can use foregone for is capital improvements specifically identified, and only at 30% maybe of whatever foregone is. So capital improvements we would be able to take, but we would not cover our other expenses. And if we don't take the foregone. And there's no guarantee, because foregone is what the legislature's been playing with most for the last few years. They keep saying, we're just gonna take it. You don't get it.
But just use it.
That's what we're saying is, that- I mean, they're almost forcing counties to do that this year. We're gonna be done with it.
Be done with it.
Yeah, I found out what was wrong with the paving.
Sherry, you give up
They need to be swamped.
new construction into 3%. That number of foregone is by far huger, larger than what you're giving up.
Yeah.
And you get back on track to take all that next year. And foregone stays with us forever. So it's a way of
It's a one-time.
increasing taxes without having to pass it. I mean, you guys are gonna have to do your signature and take the heat, but I think it's understandable. But to me, it's a win-win. I mean, to lose the 3% new construction for 1 year is nothing
It's- yeah.
compared to what you're getting out.
Exactly.
Agreed. No, we need to take the foregone this year. And the problem with it, okay, so the heartburn I'm having, the issues I'm having, my anxiety, is that we've identified, between people asking for new positions and adjusting our salaries so that we're actually within the range of what other people are, that's $1 million. So you take all the foregone on the county side, and it leaves the road department again without funding.
This board only cares about the road department, so we want as much to go that way.
Understandably. Yeah. And that's, I'm trying to balance all right now. Trying to figure out, what's really needed, what's not, and a direction forward.
What kind of things can you put on capital improvement? How about buying another house?
So we have PILT funding, the payment for taxes. We have about $2 million in there. That's how we bought this house. So, but right now, so we're using a little bit, 100,000 to move 911 over to the EOC. We have people in closets in this building. We have no space left. So people are asking like, planner and code enforcement, because they're so far behind in our planning department. Starting to roll in again. So Cindy needs, so she's asking for something. Her assessors are asking, the prosecuting attorney, we have 6 or 8 asking for. They're having to justify every one of those positions. But we have no place to put them. So we're moving the ELC over there. You know, we're trying to figure out what the office space is in here. We don't want to use all of our pill funding because that is truly the emergency fund. If we have a fire, if we have, I mean, there's some things that we have to use pill for immediately. So right now, it's budgeting is really
Doesn't planning and zoning want a code enforcer, is that their request?
25%. And the rest of it is permit. So we passed ordinances.
They want to hire a code enforcer, that's one of their employees they want.
25% of an employee. Quarter employee would be. The rest of that would be the rest of the work that needs to be done in that department.
That you're thinking code enforcement.
Yeah, we have people parking RVs all over the place. There are RV permits and short-term rental permits right now. Those poor girls are land.
Every house in Valley County practically got an RV and stuff.
Oh,
The people in it.
People living in.
Yeah.
Sherry, how are the other commissioners on taking program, are they on board?
So now it's just trying to balance everything. Jeff has huge needs in the road department, other departments have huge. So I want to get back a little bit to budget because that is,
Anyway, the question that I have, though, you can't buy property out of the foregone. You said you
yes, we
failed.
can,
You can.
yes.
So there would be a consideration there. If you got looking for a place.
Buy a house?
Yeah.
Yeah, if that was the critical need.
Yeah.
I mean-
It sounds like it's critical need.
So some of these other projects, the capital improvement plan, so we have another on here. So the other things we need is $717,000. That's gonna have to come out of our pill. So, and those are things that, some of these things, the inside of the courthouse has not been repainted. There comes a point where you have to protect your eyes. You have to do something. We have carpeting that hasn't been
You need to
replaced.
change
Would that be nice? That's not even on the radar,
20 years ago.
not even on the radar, but, I mean, we have financial software we need, we're buying software for the road department, you know. So another house is not important, it's not on our radar. And I have some ideas as far as the other housing, because the county now owns almost all that block. You put out a request for proposal, we'll move the houses onto employee land somewhere. Let a developer come in and develop some stuff. I mean, there's some opportunities like wise as
So I think it's a great time to take a break. Let's take a 10-minute break. Well, you were the.
You can just keep working.
Stay here while I take a
My
break.
brain never shuts off.
Let's go back at 10 till.
I want to go over we just have to take time to finish up carry
Yes.
and
Gotta come
I
out
want
of-
to make sure we're all on the same page. And I want to make sure we all understand. I have been the one that's been reluctant to say we need it. Now telling you that we need it.
For the rest of the day on that.
Something over, carryover versus grant.
That's all kind of all wrapped up in the same thing.
Perfect.
10 minutes?
And I figured that they would just switch something. Yeah, if anybody needs water, there's water there, there's some flavored water, I think I put some Gatorade in there, Dr. Pepper.
Need some help?
Probably.
The rain is low right
Is the
now.
sheriff getting more?
On the weather.
Follow me.
Injury,
You
right?
can go out this way. Oh, you can? Okay, I'm in
We're buying them vehicles.
Glad to see you in person today, Ed.
Oh, God, last month, I tell you, I went to see my my grandson.
We're just told that all
Every
of these
goddamn
vehicles
time I
that are
go
being
around
built,
those kids, they give me something.
Oh, that's still.
I mean, that was
they're in that supply
locked
chain.
down for a
you know,
year,
it's
to
having
avoid
issues.
COVID. I go over there, I guess I'm gonna
Yeah,
come
it
back
was-
and
We lived in Yosemite Park for
I'm going. See what happened is that I got a cough. Something happened. I started getting a cough. Oh, and it wasn't all the time. Really, it just came sometimes. And nobody wanted to
there, it's probably three. Somewhere else.
Cool.
I just.
Oh, yeah, she gets
sick all the time.
After a while, they kind of start getting some unity, some of those.
Comes home 1 year, and then next year
You're lucky. I don't
So
know.
they were just throwing that.
Debbie got COVID. I didn't know.
Stuff.
She's been now like
So we're
almost
actually
6
buying
months.
vehicles.
No, I mean, she's doing fine, functioning. But it's just,
I think. So that it's all set up.
it hurts some people.
I think we have to try to join it. Yeah, it was much more expensive to do the other way than it was just to do it all at once. So.
I didn't realize that. I just thought 911 was there.
That's for emergency operations, like when they had the little girl that had been kidnapped in the backcountry. All the feds came and used it.
That's been my experience. A lot of money for this. They sit there and
I've had real heartburn with that, so I pushed to get the 911.
that's good. Like, these buildings.
Why are we keeping the lights on over there and heat on?
They're all set up right. Built that way. I was teaching a lot of county governments, Z course
Keep functioning.
around the country.
Yeah.
Something I'll never forget is,
But I've been thinking I'm 79 years old.
yeah, take a
But
cab, we call it the EF5
I
for
tell you what, though, look at that,
hurricane. and
this meeting thing. Every one of us have been
That
sitting
was some elaborate ELCs. Let them,
Who's sitting there with lights on
Yeah,
and we're
yeah.
heating them?
But if you have a deal like this. with one-
Sherry, when you buy these houses, do you sell them to the employees or rent them?
Computer's sitting right here. You can't hear us, you
They
can't
have
hear
one.
you.
Right now, we're
It's just
coming up
not-
with
it
our
doesn't work
housing
well.
policy.
Yeah,
I mean, we're
you had all the people. I've
I'm
done
just sitting there and that just hit me like a rock. You wanna buy a
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
condos
I see your little flag.
Yeah.
across from the post office?
Yeah, I just, but anyway, I.
Don't even know. I'd have to
Bother with anymore.
consider, but that'd make great county employee housing,
You know,
wouldn't
I wondered sometimes. Seems like pretty what,
it? I gotta hire
first.
a bunch of people.
them and I'm getting old. I don't wanna do any of that.
Not bad.
You can't, like I say, you can't find anybody, you do everything yourself,
Anything I
so.
was all for with this room, I was always looking.
The more you get into it, the smaller amount.
That was pretty cool. I don't, well, you already got county employees in there
At that
now.
point, sometimes you don't know if
Governor's office.
you're. Good for
Tax.
Go back to, you know, what, as a
Yourself?
citizen, you sit out there and you see stuff.
No, but anybody else,
My
they
background.
do long-term rentals.
Research, I like that. Well, why?
Do you wanna play the county pay cash?
I wrong?
That would be acceptable too. That would be,
No.
because mine, I don't mind getting rid of them. It's recapturing plus profit. It's
It's,
a few years I'm getting tired of
you're
it.
getting that money.
But if I sell it on notes, then
Lorraine, in addition to that.
You would need to
Talk about
entertain
next
that.
month, we're talking about backcountry roads on next
Oh, we are?
month. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if.
It has to be something like we're leasing,
$7 a mile.
so it has to be local.
if I decide to
Usually
do
do it 3
this,
times a year.
how do I
We'll be able to do it
present it?
twice this year.
Yeah.
to the commission, in a meeting
Yeah,
or?
because you can't such a thing.
But we're not taking that whole
Well,
50,000. No, we're taking 25,000 out of it.
But over here,
We're doing
something.
something over here.
Yeah.
We were able to get
Maybe I'll-
away with that years ago.
Lick Creek has never been worse than this. Never been worse than this.
That kind
It's
Oh,
hard.
not the south.
I'll do it.
I did it. I did too. I went on the south. Very well, beat my truck up all. I mean, I love that drive.
I was gonna call back.
Oh, really?
They were thinking about it.
You ain't got much to blame.
Yeah, I was thinking.
This side we got quite a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe get the top, but boy, that backside.
Not done.
And a lot of it's.
And another thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of roads that way, there's really nothing to play, like at Big Creek, there is nothing.
There's always been times where we could take our time and we could sneak material here, sneak material
It's not there, yeah.
there.
Yeah, they
We don't
are.
have nothing to cover road.
You got all dirt, you got all the dirt tank, you know.
It's like over about some other.
It's gotta be loose rock. So we've gotta be able to.
You can't take the heads off of those.
Well, we hired
About that.
Larry, Wilfinger, I think. Is that his name, Gary, Larry Wilfinger?
Larry Wolfinger, that's
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah, it's Gary
Chad
hired.
Wilfinger.
Gordon hired him years ago. He had some kind of a forklift deal set up. Something that went up heavy enough and it just dropped on the lid. And he would just sit there and just keep dropping it,
Drop the
pulverize
rocks.
these rocks.
Wow,
It was an old asphalt breaker. It used to have a V on it. It was on a cable. Well,
Oh.
he flattened it. Took
Oh.
the V off of the asphalt breaker. I had to keep up and pound rocks and that thing would bounce.
Boy,
I don't see how he stayed on.
I don't know, I was riding one of those all day.
He hit a rock 50 times and then.
I know.
finally just go-
There's a lot of rocks to hit. Yeah.
well, on Lick Creek, you did, there was some chip or something on the side, that was put out there.
That was, pit run, that was the salt pit run
Yeah,
that we used.
and that
That's
kind
what
of,
I need
that
to
was kinda
continue where we left off,
yeah,
down past Hum Creek. There's nothing there for that half
There ain't
mile.
nothing.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing left on.
And
that
then
road.
what is there,
Yeah.
Jeff, what happened this spring, there were 2 or 3 places where those dang barrel pits locked up and it washed what's there.
A lot of the problem is that the
Yeah.
water pits are higher than the road
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I mean,
And the road's beat out to.
oh, it's like 26 miles. But, and it's, I always figured 2 hours to get there, but to me, that's kind of the price you pay for getting there,
Right.
but when you're going on some of these other roads, like Vic Creek and
The
you
creek's
know,
a main
Johnson
road.
Creek, yeah, it's so much used.
Yeah.
Just
Okay, anything you else on it? Anything happening? Like I said, every car that drives down these
we're
roads.
getting more cars, more
Yeah.
side by sides,
Yeah.
more everything.
More everything.
There's a formula out there.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've seen
yeah.
Yeah.
that says, you take this
This
mile of road,
right spot, yeah.
Well,
one
all of a
car on
sudden, you
it,
can.
twice a day, traveling this fast, throughout the year, you lose this many tons.
Wow.
Your road material out of farmer's fields.
Oh,
Yep.
it's like-
Tell you a good example of that, really, is that road down, Hamilton Bar down
I said it
to
all over.
3 miles.
Yeah.
That's a nice road. I ride a bicycle down there. I ain't supposed to ride a vehicle, but I go down there now. The last 2 times ago I was down there, I was surprised, all of a sudden, here comes vehicles, big, hauling huge big equipment trailers, stuff like that, I go up that road and, horse trailer, huge big horse trailer.
Yeah, because the outfit down
Somebody,
there.
somebody bought, Pritchard, and now they're developing.
They have permission to go behind that gate.
Yeah. But that road, hey, it's a nice road, except for that, it's unraveled. That's a wrong spot. It's not bad, but it's a good example, yeah, it's a good example. Don't use it much. Nothing happens to it.
Traffic on the highway increased 35%. That means there's 35% more cars.
Oh, right, you mean Highway 45 increased too. I believe it, oh my God, it's getting such a
Place to start is to meet.
Yeah.
We need a 4-lane highway before you.
Yeah, you
I took tobacco from my shop out to Small, which is on this side of Bill's daughter. Yeah. This morning. My assistant will be following me and one time up there. On the way back, 3 wide on that highway, seven times. I was over as far as I could go. Cars coming.
And they don't
There's cars
start,
passing.
and they don't even slow
Yellow
down.
light, and these
Yeah.
people are moving over the edge
Yeah.
of the pavement, and flashing their lights, yes, and you're not even slowing down.
Well, you know, like Eugene from Tour Ice, he comes up from, Ontario. And he just flipped out, he said his driver won't come on, the highway, because he got pretty almost pushed off the road. So he's refusing to drive on it. So then there's a big deal about going around like, holes, you know, ice.
Well, I'll tell you,
95 is getting.
Yeah.
people are moving here by the droves from all these places where they've made it. Lived for the last 40 years, made a huge amount of money.
Yeah, COVID made it
And
leave the
they
city,
all of a sudden,
unfortunately.
we hate this place.
They ventured
We're gonna
out.
go to McCall, we're gonna go to Valley
Go to
County.
Valley
It's
County.
gonna be just, I tell them every time I tell you, it's gonna be just like where you left. It's no different.
So my thought on all of that is,
We are,
Idaho is the one who's
Yeah.
selling these properties.
yeah.
So people are
Yeah.
upset about people moving here. And I'm like, you sold the property.
Well, that's
You know?
true.
I mean,
I remember
so-
back in-
Sell it then, yeah.
I'm just short, so I was in high school. Almost 40 years ago. I remember McCall being in Sunset Magazine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it was advertised all over the world.
Uh-huh.
McCall.
Was that Tim?
Yeah.
This was back in the early 80s.
Come, we're over now.
we are, and I guess, you know, I don't know what's gonna happen. I would take that. A few comments I've heard recently. Racks expanding, hundreds of. We have been found.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do to climb our, and there's,
Yeah.
that conversation is.
So all those people are coming here thinking, oh, we're moving into this nice tranquil
Pristine.
valley. Hey.
All right, you ready?
Fill it
Go drive downtown McCall, they outgrew their infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go ahead.
We're
and,
outgrowing our.
reconvene. Yeah. Okay.
So, in the budget, I've given you guys everything as far as the budget. You know, we're very transparent here. Take a look at it, spend some time with it. So the proposed budget for next year, Jeff is asking for some very specific. Road crushing, and the 700, or the 990,000, that's gonna come down because that, we take that dollar. I think. So just, yeah, so
Could be almost the same.
We're still on the capital improvement.
I'm on the budget, and I'm on the third page of the budget.
Okay.
I've given you 2019, 20, 21 proposed. And, so down at the bottom, you know, we've historically been spending about 3.2 million. That's what Jeff really needs, to do the basic, no extras, no equipment purchases, or very few anyway. It's just keeping the lights on, keeping employees paid, doing basic road maintenance. Okay? And then for this next year, so proposed in 2021 was 5.7 million. We're not gonna get there. Jeff can't potentially spend that much money. We're gonna be at about a 3.2, you know, pretty much what we've spent in the past at the end of the day. Through the end of this year, Jeff's got another 660,000. Well, actually, if you go to the back page, these are the projects that are recommended. The 1.1 million will be actual projects. He's got another 660,000 in salaries. But we've got a little bit more money coming in this year. So, you know, at the end of the year, we're probably going to be we're going to be close to 4 million in spending this year. So next year, that 6.1, it's gonna come down a little bit, because we'll take out some of that road grader on that. But still, next year, we're right under $6 million. So, now go to the big board. And it's pretty close. Just like, Doug has been showing us that really we've got a couple years left in here. Will be our carryover. And this is gonna be this is a strong number, because after looking at that 1.1, we may not have quite that carryover. We've got this amount of income, about 2.8 is guaranteed income. SRS has not been reauthorized. Still hearing that Crapo's office is working on something for a 2-year extension. So the way I'm looking at it is we don't plan on SRS funding anymore. We managed our income based upon the things we know to be true, and the SRS funding is for the extras.
All that soft money, we don't know for sure from year to year.
Yeah. So this is what we are spending for next year. That'll drop down, and probably offset with this. With the extra road projects that we're asking Jeff to do next year. And then I'm just putting a 5% increase in for income in 2023, and doing a 2% increase in expenses, just to make up for employee increases, that type of thing. If we were to ask Jeff to do as many road projects as needs to be done, we're down under $1 million in carryover
After next year.
after 2023. Not next summer, the summer after. We can go back to only doing the very basics and make it to 2024. But then we're done without a road levy. So after looking at everything and really pulling apart everything and looking at what's true, what's not true, if we get SRS funding, it gives us an extra year, probably.
Oregon's not put in there either.
Oregon's not put in.
Well, this is going down.
2006.
Well, it's,
2008.
well, I don't know if I would categorize it that way. The funding has been going down, yeah. Jeff started just picking up doing basic maintenance about 2017. So before that, they were actually maintaining the roads fine. They had the money to do it. They had a lot larger crew to do it. So
And SRS and other soft funds.
they had $8 million coming in for a lot of that time. When SRS quit, the last couple of years that they got good funding, it was about $3 million.
Like we talked about before, is this really shouldn't be budgeting SRS money, because we don't know if it's off money.
It's just a total amount.
Do we get to $1 million or we get 75,000? We always budgeted for $1 million, and that year we hit 75,000 revenue from it. Like, gonna put off this year. If we get it, great. I mean, open the budget back up and figure out how to spend it. But it's always been kind of nerve-wracking to me to even budget for that. Here's
The way it looks there then, really, we can probably operate for about 2 plus for 3 years. And moving along, getting some stuff done. At point, there's gonna have to be, there's a point there where we really have to get into it.
We have 2 years of
Or
really
change some,
doing anything.
change some behavior. One or the other, yeah.
That's bottom line, really. If we're gonna do any projects, and the maintenance issue is huge. We have issues now with roads that if we don't get some chip seal on them, and if we don't get those, stuff pulled up on the sides, we're gonna, our deterioration is gonna be the point where we have to have way too big of a levy to catch up. And I don't wanna do that. I don't think that's the appropriate thing to do for taxpayers.
You weren't part of the levy last time.
I had been appointed 2 weeks ago. So I was not part of any of
Because
the.
one of the complaints was nobody analyzed how much money the road department needed. Only went with the maximum levy they could get. Our people, I'll tell you that, so
And
It's
Gary,
gonna
that's
have to be
exactly
some-
why we're here.
figure in there.
Absolutely. That's why we're here, because I didn't feel good about asking people for money. Very good planning.
Last month, Jeff said we had $5.7 million budget. I remember that figure. Fully funded. I wish I had that paper, because it said fully funded. Remember, Jeff?
I remember saying 5.7, I think that's what we were shooting for.
Well, fully funded would be using some of our carryover.
Yeah, that's what the carryover.
He said his budget was fully funded.
Yeah, that's with the
Yes, and
carryover.
that's true with pulling
With your,
money out of the carryover.
And if we take that 335,000 out of next year's proposed budget, it's about 5.7. So that may have been
Yeah.
exactly.
That's the number that I remember.
am I hearing you right that it's not necessarily Jeff's fault, it's the commissioners? Why he has so much carryover and nothing gets done? Because commissioners don't want him to spend any money? So
So-
the carryover grows?
So I will answer it. So first of all, the county works as a team, and that's the way I'm going to respond to this. The clerk's office actually does, they are the budget officer. Budget officer compiles everybody's requests, wish lists, and then brings it to the commissioner. I'm not one that's going to sign off on anything. I will tell you, I drive these guys crazy. I want to know what I'm signing off on. So I am asking questions. And so that's where this conversation started. I don't have enough information to go back to the taxpayers with another request for a levy without knowing exactly what we need and where we're going to spend it. Not doing it. So we approved the road advisory group. So am I going to throw anybody under the bus? No, I'm not. Because I think everybody should have opened it up a bit more and put some daylight on it a bit more before the last levy. But everybody does a certain part of that task. Stuff comes in, down with the clerk. They go over what my needs are. And the clerk looked at the budget and said, you can't do all of this with this much money because we're going to run out. Then that thought went back to the commissioners and said, we can't do all of this work because we're going to run out of money if we don't have guaranteed SRS.
Here's the problem, because you need more money, but your carryover increase is huge. Nobody in the right mind will vote for a levy when you've got that kind of money in reserve.
And you're concerned.
So then I say, okay, in 2017, Jeff didn't spend $2 million. Of an $8 million, he only spent $6 million. Then I changed my focus to, Jeff, we're not getting the job done. You have the money, so it's your fault. You didn't spend it to improve the roads. Then I hear this, that the commissioners you don't have enough money to spend it. We gave you this budget, but don't spend it. And it's just back over to commissioners. You see where
I understand your concern.
I'm seeing?
I understand your. And that was my concern too, and that's why we're here.
But see, I'm
We have to start
focusing
spending
on-
some money. We have to.
You have
You
to.
cannot go out to the taxpayers with a $9 million cash carry forward and ask taxpayers for money. You just can't do that. And so we have pushed Jeff this year. They'll spend, you've got to put money on those roads. They have to be done. So Jeff's taking a lot of heat this year.
Maybe really, we have a kind of an opportunity here. We've got about 3 years. give or take. You can really do the job as it should be done. You have 3 years, basically, to deal with this levy needs. 3 years to kind of adjust. Those and different responsibilities put on the landowner, various things like that. So it looks like you almost got about a 3-year window to start working, but not go next year and ask for a levy.
I would say we have 2 years. 2
Yeah.
years, because
Yeah.
if we were to pass a levy in May,
Yeah.
it doesn't start collecting until the following
Right.
December, of which we don't get the first payment. So anytime you pass a levy, you got a year before you start even getting
You
funded.
got 2 years to do that, but you got about 3 years that you can live within it. But you're really hanging on it. By using this money, you're hanging it on the levy.
Absolutely. We have 2 years
Yeah.
if we do the types of maintenance that
Right.
needs to be done in the county.
And you get some positive operations out there. Yeah, they gotta know in that period of time, well, you gotta pay for this stuff.
I'm sitting here thinking, okay, 2 years even. So Ed, if we were to go to the levy, or to the taxpayers next May, say we need, I'm just throwing out figures, $2 million. We don't start collecting that until the following December. We don't get the money until July of 2023. That levy doesn't pass. The budget for 2023 needs very bare bones maintenance only, because we will run out of money
Yeah.
before the next funding cycle. And so it's, we're in a time warp here a little bit, and that's been Doug's, concern all along. Doug's very conservative with your county money, and I really appreciate that. We have PILT funds, we have road department carryover because Doug's been very conservative. And that's, I think, what he was tasked to do. We don't want to spend any more than we have to spend right now until we have some
At
stuff.
some point, you've got to.
You've got to start spending.
Spending.
I agree with you 100%. But what is that spending mechanism? You guys want to see, absolutely. And that's why you guys have everything. Absolutely. I'm not sugarcoating anything. You guys have everything. I want the taxpayers to know exactly what's happening. That's really important to me. So, this year, we've tasked Jeff to spend 1.1, actually probably $1.5 million of those carryover funds. Get it on the roads. We've got to get this done. Yes. In next year's budget, he's really got $2 million in there. Go and do some work. Get it done. I need to get as soon as this is done, we need to get contracts out for next year. Whatever needs to happen. At that moment, we have about another $2 million, maybe $3 million, that's in the holding pattern. We have to have grant match. If we get a big project, you've got to have grant match. If we were to have a blowout again, Stibnite cost us $750,000, $1 million up front. We still don't have that money back, We may not get it, who knows? We're praying we get it, but, we don't know. But if there's a major catastrophe somewhere in the roads, you've got to have some kind of reserve. I don't feel good about dropping down below $3 million reserve, honestly. But I'm open to input.
You have a lot less risk of that out here than you do that. That's what we
Is that a county road or a Forest Service road?
do.
The Stibnite?
Or we weren't mandated to fix it. We fixed it for the Forest Service.
You get some money from the Forest Service?
Not yet.
Oh, that's what we're waiting.
No, we're waiting on
Nothing
FEMA
comes from the
money.
Forest Service. It's FEMA money.
Oh,
That's why we didn't
Oh.
fix this year when they had all the big snow slides. No, the only people back there, right now are Perpetua. They can take
yeah,
that
well,
road.
that makes
They did. They put $500,000 on it to clear snow slides. And that's opened, well, not only for the mine back there, but there's a huge recreational.
right there is.
I think that sounds
Finance.
like a big discussion. You have a plan for
Yeah, the next meeting. Roads, roads, whatever.
Let's get the Forest Service here. Let's get some
Well,
other
Jeff,
people
would you
here.
come up with what we need for matching funds? Did you, I thought at the beginning, did you ever come up with an amount?
For the next 5 years,
For the last 5 years, what?
well,
we've
from
been
the last
spending
5
for-
years.
per
For
year.
matching funds.
So we've spent, it kind of varied.
Sure.
If I remember right, the average, if I took that total dollar amount for 5 years, averaged it out per year, it's like $180,000 a year. There was one where, like the Warren Wagon project, we had to bank $250,000 a year, 4 years to meet that $1 million match.
It makes sense to carry over enough to carry over.
Yeah, I mean, that was a $10 million project, which we don't have many of those.
Now, East Lake Fork that's coming up in 3 or 5 years, what's our match on that?
That's about 300,000.
Look at that one, if we ever get something over on West Mountain. So I'm asking Jeff, and I'm asking everybody really to think of a circulation plan for Valley County. Because if we ever have a large forest fire, we gotta get people out of here. If anything happens to 55, our only other route is West Mountain. That road is not a great road. Farm to market, but only if you can get across the bridge at Old Fort. I mean, Thunder City, if anything ever happens to the bridges in Cascade, you gotta take Thunder City. I'm asking him to look at circulation. How do we circulate within the county?
That has happened where both roads were shut off. We were all trapped.
Yeah, I know.
People going over High Valley.
There's
getting
a
south.
lot of safety zone on that.
Yeah, it's a shelter in place.
Yeah.
I worry about that more than I should. I watched the
Probably.
Paradise Fire video.
No,
I don't know if you've ever seen that one, but it is a scary
There is
video.
a lot of safety.
There's not a lot of quite right on that, from a fire standpoint, that's this situation. We are very safe in this county. The Long Valley is a very safe spot.
Valley
Shelter in
floor.
place. And what happens is people panic, they gotta get out of here, gotta get out of here. But it's a current emergency where you get the airplane crash, out, weather, all those things, kind of end up in. You'll see people. Everything's still fine. There's
Well,
still a lot of snow. There's still snow.
I look at those kinds of things, just that's what keeps me awake at night, is having to get people out.
Paradise was a one-way in
I
and
know.
a one-way out, and they didn't do any fuels work. Or just across the. It was a wreck waiting to happen.
Good to know. That's
Well,
good
as
to
we
much
are
know.
not a
as I
record
hate
now.
to see West Mountain paved, it might make sense because there's a lot of traffic off, because they could enter Hemrack or whatever, east side. Or
Those are-
McCall side, I'd hate to see it paved.
And
It
we
would
would never
help,
do
wouldn't
that
it?
as a county, but that might be something that we ask a developer to do. I mean, that might be those partnership kind of things that, hey, you wanna develop, 3,000 more acres, you're gonna have to pay some of this road. And so those are the kind of things that we're starting to look at. If we ever partner with a developer though, road development agreements, that's another conversation that we're looking into again. How do we partner with development and not, really, not increase our, first of all, our workload, but secondly, our taxpayers' life? Those are all things we're looking at. We're
You
trying to
work
research.
with Hemrack. They have plans.
Well, and that, it's not all them.
So south
There's
of
so
Blackhawk, they
much
just did
development.
Blackhawk Phase 5, south of Blackhawk entrance. Developer taking it upon himself through a construction and right-of-way permit through me. You're gonna widen, improve that road from the Blackhawk entrance south about a quarter mile. They're taking it upon themselves. I mean, that, it can be done.
Does it go back to the Mackey Lane thing? Anything like that you get rid of?
We've talked about that.
And you come back. Prove up and that's your driver's seat.
I see-
But what would, and that's the question on the, I'll go back to the budget, how much do you guys want to see? Should we be doing $1 million worth of project? Just to make sure that we have some carry forward for, should we be-
That we're doing something.
or should we do $2 million worth? And really improve our asset out there, but. I mean,
Just drop it back to basic.
yeah,
Well, we, as a board, have given Jeff some recommendations for tools in that. Like accepting new subdivision, we take the roads on, if they create HOA, that's some lessons learned. I think LIDs for people who are anxious and want to improve their wagon wheel comes to mind with all that new growth. let them do LEDs out there, we maintain.
That's
the
something we really need to put out there as far as the educational aspect of that. I don't think a lot of people know about LEDs. And I think that's a great thing. We had people in last week talking about Clear Creek. Go in and fix Clear Creek. Well, that little community out there should do an LED.
Because it really doesn't, it's not expensive per person if there's enough,
Yeah.
and they see the weird burn down on their road. Where levy, you're guessing if they're ever gonna get to my road or not. And the other issue, as long as you have that type of amount of money, you're never gonna get levy. 'Cause that wasn't really brought up that much. That's levy, and it'll be paramount this time. So you've gotta bring that down, bring it lower,
What do
and
you,
spend it on the roads.
what do you think would be a good base? You, business, what would be your bottom that you?
You know, I'd have to look at risk. Now, as a businessman, I wouldn't see the $750,000 slide on Forest Service Road as my problem, as a county problem. Somebody else can fix it, or you pay us up front, or however you're gonna do it, for us to go out and do that. I don't think you have that amount of danger in the valley floor on most of the roads. I think under 3, you have to keep some in for these matching funds.
You saying under 3 carryover area?
Yeah, under
Yeah.
3 million carry over.
25.
Yeah, somewhere where it's down there where people understand what that money's for, which is matching funds and disaster. I think that they will accept that all.
And we're not accepting that.
But-
That's the whole point.
Gotta improve maintenance. We gotta get the people feeling good that their levy's gonna go towards doing what the road department's doing. It's- We've gotta do that. That, to me, that is the number one reason the levy will pass, is to get better maintenance.
But that's a really good point. So what would you say that with the carryover we got in, what would you say, okay, right off the bat, let's just commit an extra $1 to whatever, per year for the next year?
Commit to the carryover?
Of the carryover.
Well,
That's pretty much what we're doing
That's
for
what you're kind of doing.
2022.
So I'm wondering about putting another
whenever you're gonna go for the levy, that's gotta be down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it would
go up,
coincide
yeah.
with when we're gonna ask for a levy.
You got a date and then backwards, it shows you're down.
Also, I would spend it now. I'd spend as much as I can to
Get
get
some
our roads
contractors
improved.
out there.
Next year's gonna be different, because we're gonna get the foregone, we're gonna know how much is coming into us. Hopefully this PIL SRS will get figured out with the federal. And I think we'll be in better shape next year to analyze this budget, get rid of some of this soft money.
So I don't know that foregone is gonna work.
No, but hopefully there's
Let's
gonna be a
hope at least some.
good portion of it going to work.
Because we can't even give a raise. Give the employees a raise. And we're right back to the point where we can't hire employees. We're not being competitive in the marketplace. So we've got to balance the entire county. I have to balance the entire county versus just the road department. And I'm just being honest.
If this opportunity didn't come along, what were you gonna do anyway?
Well, we would take the other, 750,000, and then we would not be hiring employees. Because
We wouldn't
our,
get raises.
that's true, because the raises themselves,
employees.
we would be losing
You,
employees.
you've got to take care of the employees, that's
Yeah.
number one.
That's number one in my book. Number one.
Well, and the thing is, if we don't, we can't hire employees. We already can't hire employees. We have to keep good employees or we can't do any of
It
this
has
work.
to be
It
an
doesn't work.
attractive place for people to work.
Employees have to train you.
And really, I mean, this year, we're probably looking at, we have to do the adjustment so that we don't feel that, well, first of all, we think the government's gonna force us to do a $50 minimum wage. Don't know yet. But we're just below $15 a minimum.
Shouldn't
And
hurt
we
you
can't
much.
hire, but we can't hire people like that. That's where our
I know.
DMV clerks are. So we're having to bump that a little bit just to try and get some. So I will have more information for you on that.
Where did this carry over?
But nobody has for a long time.
Long time.
So it's an accumulation.
Yes.
Correct.
It
Other
started way back when
departments.
Gordon was the superintendent. Our master transportation plan is in 2006. It'll be 4 years of RS funding. Into that 4 years, gives the counties, rural counties that lost logging funds, and get their own
It was
funding.
like 10 years, wasn't it?
Something like
Yeah,
that.
10 years. It was a 10
This,
year.
this
Yeah.
talk should have started.
Yeah. We go well over twice that.
Yes.
And that's why the legislators are saying, we're giving you a shot, you know. At the same time, they've also changed the shared stewardship, you know, formulas. So the Forest Service has been monkeying on the whole thing. And so there was some original, they are not living up to the original legislation.
But I think, gotta kind of get them back in the mix.
I don't know if that's gonna happen right now.
Their next year's budget, go over it to see if there's a lot more money going in. Big removal.
Recreation.
Oh, get the forest back and
Oh.
again, cut some trees, clean it up.
They're doing a lot of things, but they're not doing it. So some of those stewardship sales, the county can still get 25%. They're not doing them that way. They're doing everything they can, to keep money in the forest, not.
That prevent, what I've understood is the stewardship keeps them out of a lot of lawsuits. Environmentalists.
Yeah, the NEPA, they don't get, people on NEPA.
Right.
Not near as much, but that's one of the working group things and the real positive thing.
But, so back to the carryover amount then for potential catastrophic and or grant. For 3 million, for 2.5 or something like that. So the rest
Yeah,
of
So
it-
they
I was
go down
gonna
to
say-
about 2.5.
I was gonna say 2.5 would be a good number.
Yep.
Just to have in that,
Gives you some flexibility within there with contracts and various things.
I mean, once in a
Yeah.
while, you know, we'll lose a big culvert will go. Hit the road with it. During a catastrophic rain event, a tree will come down, block the culvert. Road's gone. It's happened here since I've worked here in 20 years, 2 or 3 times. We've lost bridges on Norwood and West Roseberry during a rain on a snow event in the spring.
I think the public would understand.
Yeah.
Gotta have a contingency.
It
especially when you're
happens.
Dealing with the weather. 90% of your issues dealing with the weather.
One of the things too, the county does have, you have this valued thing, and I don't really understand. I don't know where our credit thing is. But catastrophic stuff can borrow money against. It's not like you're dead in the water. One of the things that, when you go back on this carryover thing, you ask a question. Her last, Mr. Heinrich was here, very conservative, probably even more so than we are now. So we've lived many, many years under that framework. And you're sure live that way, you got it, everybody you got it. Well, there is a point where you have to start loosening up.
Gotta paint the cornhouse.
Yeah.
I've been painting 25 years.
Now, I'm gonna expect to see a
Boiler.
new Ford truck in your parking lot here pretty quick with a big old payment on it. I don't think you're gonna.
I ain't gonna do that.
Let's so.
I already got a good.
You know, you're talking about emergency money,
So
so
your
As I
emergency
say, not as I
stuff.
do.
So
We
we got,
gotta protect
got
our
the-
assets.
got the Xena Creek Bridge.
Yeah.
Looking at about $140,000 to replace that. I immediately contacted LTAC. Said, well, that's, bridge is a part of this emergency money that we give out, it's like $100,000 maximum. Back and forth we went. Finally, they agreed to pay for the bridge, pay for the pavement, if my crew did the work. I just deposited a $68,000 check in the county's, in my budget, and that paid for the bridge and the asphalt, my crew's gonna put it in. But the help is out there on certain things.
The Epstein Bridge.
The Epstein Bridge is, tell us about the Epstein Bridge, Mary. It's,
What's it gonna come down to at the end of the day then?
Yeah, we'll
I
know.
don't know.
They're coming up with a couple different alternatives.
We sent a surveyor up there within the last month and found out that that bridge is on private property.
a quarter of it is.
That's got all of Yellow Pine's water that goes across it, sewer, I mean, everything, so. And that bridge has been damaged in the earthquake. And so, I mean, just we got a grant, but just for the engineering was $100,000?
$150,000.
And climbing.
Just for the engineering.
Jeff's matches. They have good matches.
But that's the feds for you. It was, since we claimed a FEMA claim in 2019 from that big slide back there in Stibnite, that opened another door for emergency disaster money for another project back in that same area. Bridge popped in my head. I got my bridge costs, I talked to a local contractor, see what they'd charge to put it in. Because it was, it'd be a tough one. Contractor cost plus the cost of the bridge was $300,000. $150 on
Well,
engineering.
permitting, I mean, there's fish in that,
Permit,
there's
yes.
salmon. It's, you know, it's a lot of
It's a big deal.
delicate permitting.
Daniel Ford.
Okay, it's.
So our
one of our
$2.5
rocks.
million, what I'm saying is, you know, I mean, there could be times where we spend that, we can recoup it, some of it, you know,
Still gotta write
FEMA,
the
you
check
gotta
first.
write the check up front.
Yeah, see, so I've gotta have, even though I get reimbursed on a lot of these federal jobs, we pay 7.34% the total cost of the job. Project. We still have to pay 100% of every bill I get, then submit a reimbursement, I get 94% of that back. But I have to have that $12 million.
What time frame does that usually occur? When you
Depends on
finish?
which project, I mean, we're dealing with ITD on, East Side Drive Bridge, north of McCall. Keller sends us an invoice, Keller Engineering sends us an invoice, 25,000, 40,000, whatever, every couple of months. We pay it. I sign it, goes back to ITD, they review it, they send us the check. Usually it can be anywhere from a month to 3 months before we see any money back.
Kind of industry standard. I'd
Yeah.
say.
Question then comes back to how much how much batting do you really feel comfortable with? Do you feel comfortable with $2.5 million?
If that stayed in there,
If it stays in there, in other words, year after year, we continue.
It's gonna go down,
yes,
it's gonna
yeah,
get
if
replaced.
we have to pull 500,000 out of it
Yeah.
to do a repair at Stibnite, as long as that was replaced next year, because something catastrophic could happen to something somewhere, who knows?
It's how much can you really afford to keep in the bank? It's not making you any money.
It's making money.
Yeah.
We got a treasurer that invests
We did a
very
little bit of
frugally.
40,000 last year.
Yeah, yeah, but pretty small income, $140,000.
So the other thing we don't know is, so this is paid on gas tax, the state has not determined yet how to charge electric vehicles. All of a sudden, the electric vehicles come along and we don't get gas tax, you know? I mean, this dollar figure could drop, we don't know. I mean, the state should find some way to charge those people an over-the-road tax of some kind, but that hasn't been determined.
I think what we're looking at is trying to come up with a program to work for the next couple of years, but with the realization, we are probably going to ask. And we got a couple of years to show good faith, to start getting. How much can we hold over that? Move on down the road with the idea that we probably are.
And that the public feels comfortable with seeing in our cash flow. And as long as they know the reasoning for having that $2.5–3 million.
Yep.
That, it's gonna take
That's
some.
not gonna be hard to sell.
That won't be hard to say.
Right.
That's not.
But what I'm hearing is, you guys would be comfortable with running just a regular budget at about three, and adding 2 million a year on it. And that would give us at the end of the time, if we don't have a bunch of fluctuations somewhere, about $2 million in bank.
But if you do that, that extra 2 million needs to be spread out as far as you can in the county,
Yes.
with as many minor improvements. Every time you do some of these roads, you might get a vote for the levy, you know, but if people don't see it, I wouldn't do big projects, that's that. I would spread it
A
out
lot of maintenance.
everywhere I could.
You know, those problem areas.
A little there, a little there.
That's a really good point.
What about some little things like that?
Well, then this board could go before the public, which we are.
Right.
They'll see the improvement and they'll understand they need a levy. Continue this level. We spent what we had extra. We're out now. If you want this level of service on your roads, this is what you have to do.
We're gonna drop back down to it, and we'll start seeing the holes again, and
It's like we hear you, we know you need roads fixed. We'll do it.
And-
You are gonna have to pay at some point.
And
We
I
are
think-
going to have to identify ones throughout the county, because a lot of the infrastructure, fortunately around Lake Fork, you know, kind of north, a lot of them in that area. There is one over here we've got on Lake Shore. But we're gonna have
You need
to,
Get that fixed, we go ice fishing there.
we need to make sure that everybody within the county is in some fashion, spread that out.
Really good point.
That's very, so Lake Shore, I applied for Western Federal Lands grant on that. Came in just under the threshold for points awarded. There's other projects in the western states. I compete with, you know, all of Idaho, Oregon, Washington, Montana. They have a chunk of money and they get in there and they score it. They put a bunch of people together and score it. I didn't make it last year. But the application's done. Every time they call for projects, all we gotta do is update a few things, a few fresh pictures.
And that is definitely what we'll continue to do.
Yes.
There is gonna be right grants.
Question when you brought that up about, we've been, in your opinion, maximizing their use of all.
The last year, yes,
Last how long?
by the year, since we hired Mary.
Okay.
She's a professional grant writer, so I had to pay parametrics as before she got hired on. I'm pretty good at dotting my i's and crossing my t's and stuff, but the wording isn't what these big scoring want to see. I call her pipe, they want to see Culver.
You gotta learn to speak.
I gotta learn to speak their language.
Yeah.
So I paid parametrics, I think, $4,000 to write that grant for me. But in all these other grants, they're kind of weirdly timed. The thing is, you apply for a grant, a lot of these LTAC grants are due in January. The budget's already set, from October 1. So here I'm applying for a grant that, if I get it, do I have the $50,000 match the budget? Then that's another reason some of these line items have been high in here. is anticipation, and if I don't spend it, it stays there.
Stays there, goes back into carryover,
Yes.
we go back to next year's.
Yes.
Question, I think. You really.
Yeah, me and Mary been working,
Yeah. So is there time to continue with electrical work point?
in my mind,
I'd
yeah.
like to make a motion, we recommend that as an advisory group. For catastrophic emergencies and grant.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, and spend the rest of it down.
We add to that motion excess money, how it should be spent. We added quite a bit of money in that motion.
Do we save it for grants, or do we spend pieces and parts of
But we
it?
saved the 2.5, but the other money
Oh,
above that,
the other chunk.
right, it's gotta be spent.
Maintenance type, or at least focus, maintenance. Throughout the
Prioritize,
county.
prioritize
Yeah,
maintenance.
prioritize maintenance
Use that
across the
money for
county.
maintenance.
Vulnerable spots.
Same time, you don't wanna go and say, well, we're not gonna do any of those contracts. Gotta do them. Do them really bad.
Already happened.
So like,
Maybe 64 years, something like
prioritizing.
that.
You know
Well,
what
if
the
it
bad
gets the
spots
maintenance
are.
done,
right.
then whatever's left, let them use it for that.
Right.
Make maintenance the priority.
Maintenance priority.
Doing shouldering, like Gary said, if the material's not there, which a lot of it, take Patty Flat for instance, you shoulder it, run cows down it.
Yeah.
All the shoulders are pushed down in the
Yeah.
bottom of a ditch that's that deep.
Yeah.
Can't get it back, so I gotta run more material out there to re-shoulder it.
Yeah.
Before you know it, the ditches are full of material, and I gotta take a backhoe excavator out there to fish it out, or try to.
Yeah.
With cattails and,
Don't you love your job?
yeah.
Actually, it
So
sounds
now
pretty
we've talked
interesting.
about we've talked about actually being outside of the office. Now let's talk about what Jeff's doing inside of his office in order to become more efficient. So I do have a demo for you of the software that we're looking at. The highlights on it is that Jeff's crew will have a tablet,
Centralized
laptop,
computer or something.
something where we will be doing inventories so that all of the equipment is identified, trying to track somebody that's gonna be taking care of that vehicle. There's actually a scanner, they can walk up with their phone and scan it. And it will feed into the software that this part was just used. It will have, we have 15 filters and we just used 5. We need to order another 15.
Inventory.
Automatically
Yes.
updating some of that stuff. Would you guys like to spend just?
So it'd be like Gary wanted here a few months ago. How much did it cost to maintain that road grader for 5 years?
Don't know, but we will have that.
But now we will have something like that. I can punch in BO 25, which is a road grader. Boom, there's a spreadsheet on everything we spent on that grader in the last 5 years.
It will send reminders to that this piece of equipment needs to be used. It will send all kinds of alerts that, this piece of equipment, something has failed on it. There's monitoring systems. We are choosing this program, it's called Fix It, because it will also help our buildings and grounds, our facilities department also keep an inventory of the things that they need to keep an
It could be
inventory.
used countywide.
Correct. Yeah. So it's not quite as specific as like some of the Alpine Automotive has one that's very specific, but it will flash codes and stuff to an error on a piece. I don't think this one will do that.
No.
It'll just tell you there was.
But before we go to that, question in a second.
Oh, I apologize. I
Yeah,
interrupted.
discussion.
I
Yes, there is.
apologize.
So we need to finish that.
I
we needed to define where
You want to change that motion to include
to include, maintenance,
Priority.
prioritization determined by throughout the county.
So it's focus on maintenance as opposed to,
We need to define at some point, what is minor maintenance, what is heavy maintenance, what is. Talk about minor too.
further discussion.
We have a motion on the floor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Being none?
You will come to the commissioner meeting and put
Recommendation.
yourself on the commissioner meeting. Seemed like last month there was a
Yeah, it was before that.
You didn't make one, huh?
And we had just had a lot of discussion on what to do with carryover last month. We haven't updated it. Oh, okay, you wanna go through the demo, and while she's setting that up, next, just so everybody knows, next month, I thought about putting on the full time is. Any other ideas for?
We're gonna need a meeting. Kind of the elephant in the room. How the road department is working now, employee accountability. How's Jeff doing? What can he improve on? I think there's gonna have to get into that at some time. Maybe not this meeting, but next one. It'll take the entire meeting, but we need that discussion. How's the road department doing?
Is the road department progress, accountability?
Yeah, we're gonna have to show negatives, places to improve. Jeff's input on it, also by. Did Jerry Robinson give you his letter?
He did, he was approved.
He's gonna be back from Alaska July 20th. And I'd like him to be in that meeting. And I see a lot of conversation between you and him about this, because we don't know a heck of a lot about it. All I see is the negative, and I'm bringing them up, but there's gotta be other reasons why I went out this time, why things aren't getting done, but. So,
What I just said, road department accountability and efficiency.
yeah, that's fine.
Sounds good to me. Okay.
What would we do with that? They have a value. Moving forward. Up discussion.
What I'm doing, it centers around solve the problem of not finding employees satisfied. Looking at the money issue. Really opened our eyes, and I think we've done some good things there. Now we look at the people getting this money, are they doing it efficiently? Are we spending our money wisely? And if we can answer that question yes or no with improvements, I think we move forward again, because that's the number one. People call me a lot. That is the number one complaint, not doing their job. You got to address it. Oh, I said, I don't want to. It's a nasty subject.
In reality, is that every organization.
Well, in that discussion, we would also. Organization. Improving workspace. Those kind of things, those little pieces that help him. whether it's people-wise or it's.
We gotta be careful or not.
Yeah, I mean,
But
Like
we
I
have
told
to
you
set
before,
expectations.
We need to take something to the public.
Yeah.
We've asked these questions.
and Gary just said it, he gets a lot of phone calls from the public.
Yeah.
I wanna hear this, because they're apparently seeing something that I'm not. I'm open for doing whatever I need to do to make this.
And Jeff, if we don't
Better.
confront it.
Right.
And you defend your position, the assumption's gonna still be there.
Right.
See, and I wanna end that assumption.
Right.
And what are the tools that we're providing Jeff to allow him to manage more efficiently? We are going to be, software is one of them. We're also putting tracking devices, and it's not to track the employees, but it's to make them more efficient and more transparent to the public. We are putting them on snowplows. People will actually be able to get online and go, the snowplow will be to me in 15 minutes. If people get used to going to that map instead of calling Jeff's office, that's gonna save his employees hours, you know?
I thought that was supposed to happen like a year ago.
So we've had a turnover in some personnel and we found out it didn't happen. So we're gonna make that happen.
It's in the budget.
It's in the budget to totally complete that install and to get the proper training on. So,
But it's not a babysitting tool, but this way, if somebody calls and says, I can get on there, or somebody calls and says, football hasn't moved for an hour and a half.
Well, our trucking company-
I can get on the computer and look and,
Actually, one was 3.5.
really?
All our airlines.
Yeah,
and
see,
all
I
trucking
don't
companies.
see this. I hear it hearsay and it's hard to
Right in
find.
front of your office. Sat there for 3.5 hours on last week.
I'm here?
But again, I don't want to accuse you of anything.
Right,
I want facts. I want you to defend the facts, give the reasons why. We have this, you know,
yeah.
if there's a problem, we try and fix it. That's our job.
Tools.
and we give him the tools he needs.
Understand, you. I'm not after you. I
Oh,
hope you
no,
realize that.
no,
I just
No, I-
want to go down every avenue I can
yeah,
and solve the problem.
So if you're okay with backcountry on August, and then we'll talk about efficiencies.
Okay, so this is the software. So this will give him, this is an overview of what Jeff will be able to see when he gets in here. And then he can start breaking down each one of these individual categories. Right now, obviously, there's not enough information in here to populate correctly. But all the work order here, the backlog on it, there will be a shared calendar. Let me see if. Assigned assets, so that he can assign assets to whatever department or individual that he wants to assign an asset to, that it's their responsibility. Assign work orders. Who's gonna be working on it, when it was created, whether it's open, whether it's been assigned to someone. So Jeff will actually go in and assign all these work orders to people. All the users, the type that it is. Whenever they get their hours in there, the time spent will be in there. Purchase requests. What was requested and when.
Yeah.
Let's get down to business.
with that.
Hey, I tell you the paper's expensive in COVID times. Work orders. So who's doing all the work orders? What's, how they're breaking down. See all those columns. Scheduled maintenance. Let's see. Okay, so if we open this one up, this gives you all of the scheduled maintenance on this piece of equipment.
Who it is.
And all this is user friendly, so you can put in or take out as you know.
And they'll provide full support to not only install it, but also to train everybody on it.
So it comes at an annual kind of a maintenance fee and all that
Yep.
stuff. And I understand that you're going to actually hire a person to manage the system.
So we are not just specific to this system, but Jeff needs a new person in his office. He used to have 3.
Okay.
So there will be a technician that will be
That's not
doing,
tied directly to this, but.
yeah, will be managing this
Will be a
and
big
other
part.
things.
Yeah.
And also, they're probably going to be helping the facilities department get theirs set up also. And then Jeff will have that person full-time.
You do, your maintenance shop does work for all.
Yeah, work for the sheriff's office.
Right, so that money gets pushed off to different
This will
pieces.
help with arguments, Jeff.
Well, everything is done on work orders, and then when the office manager enters everything into the computer for claims and everything, it's got its own code.
Yeah.
On who's paying for it? The sheriff's office paying for it,
Right.
in the fund.
It isn't all just you, but you're managing it.
Right.
It's almost like a grant.
Yep, and all the weed department stuff we take care of.
So this scan barcode right here, we can actually print off and stick it on a label on every piece of inventory. So somebody could walk up with a scanner and just scan it and it just goes right into the computer.
QR code.
Yep. Assets. Those are all of the parts and supplies. Current stock. It's right there.
Current stock, I don't know if I told you guys this, but mechanics went up and went through all of our filters. Just imagine how many oil filters we have. We went through over $3,000 worth of filters back to NHPA with a credit. Filters that were stuck back in the corners, or there was 6 of these or 8 of these that we got rid of the machine 2 years ago, but they were still on our shelves.
But they were happy.
Yeah.
Does the company offer annual inventory? This is part of that maintenance.
I don't know on that.
Yeah, we talked about it that day, and yeah.
I don't know if they'll do it or we do
require a yearly
You'll have to have
inventory,
it.
just like everybody else does. They shut down for 2 days
Yeah.
and do inventory. Because otherwise, we're not gonna know.
You lose it.
Yeah.
People will have one of those filters and forget.
But, we gotta, that's one of my deals right now. I'm gonna have to put locking doors on my 2 upstairs rooms where the filters and belts and fill filters and stuff like that are, because I got guys that come in at 2 o'clock in the morning. Instead of bugging a mechanic, they'll just go up there and grab what they need. We'll throw it on there and not leave a note. All of a sudden, mechanics go to do a service on something, there's no filters.
Heck, you have a shop superintendent?
Stretch, yeah. Foreman, yeah.
So this, once they get down, they'll be able to submit purchase requests directly from here. Batch stock adjustments, I don't know what that is.
Off of this and order.
I think we talked about that, and she said they have certain vendors. She
Yeah.
wasn't sure if Napa was in there, but would look into that. An inventory cycle, I mean, there's a lot of information in here. And then there's a whole report industry, or tab here, that he'll be able to go in and do all kinds of reports. So,
Give Gary what he wants.
his fingertips.
That would be kind of a handy deal, wouldn't
Yeah, it's gonna take some learning, but
it?
Checking the
Well,
equipment.
we're living in the digital age.
yes. I'm still a paper guy that I'm trying to get used to.
Well, and, I feel strongly, I think the other commissioners do too, that we're very transparent. We need to be transparent with the public, we need to be responsive, but we also need to be accountable. This is gonna hold everybody accountable. So,
Very nice.
Yes.
What's that cost, Sheriff?
Pretty
it
minimal.
was like
It's all
$2,500.
cloud-based, so it was very, very minimal. I mean, I was thinking $100,000 to get this thing going, it was like
That wasn't,
$4,000.
yeah, it's not very much. We were really surprised.
Did they give you an annual maintenance?
Yes, but honestly, I can't tell you that. The IT director actually brought it and just did a demo for us. Budgets.
It'll make your money used well.
It's-
Absolutely.
It needs to happen for our currency and everything else.
It's a terrible piece on it. I mean, when guys are in the office and they know that there's gonna be there's not gonna be a piece of something. Or, because they know somebody's gonna be
It
held
probably won't go all the
accountable.
way down to the nuts and bolts and zip ties and stuff like that, but, I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
there'll be a minimum.
that stuff doesn't disappear, but, you know. At least, I just had to go grab a nut out of the.
They get one of those.
I don't know how you keep track of 4,000 nuts and bolts, but
We won't be doing
it's
that.
kind of like going to get your car serviced at Alpine Automotive, there's a line item that says shop supplies, $10. Cover zip ties, shop towels, nut or a bolt.
You need to account for it too.
So, go around the room and then we'll. The order?
I can make a motion.
Second that motion. We are now adjourned.
I will get this grant match for the last 5 years off to you guys here in the next week or so. I'm taking next week off, so you'll probably get it the week after.
Next meeting, we might need to make sure we have, information for the further votes on that idea.
It's, you know, it's
had for improvements.
Kind of like we were talking about it in break time. Harry wasn't in here, but we get paid $2,000 a mile. Johnson Creek's 25 miles long, so here we get paid $50,000 for maintaining that road. Doesn't take $50,000 to maintain that road. We take the other $45,000 and spend it over here.
Unless you get a blowout on that, it
Unless
costs
you get a blowout.
$750,000.
Well, yeah, but you're supposed to get the
Keep those
reimbursement
things
on
in
the
mind.
blowout, so.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
I think it would be helpful if we could get the Forest Service here.
That would be
Just
nice.
thinking about
Who's
that.
Yeah.
who's the person?
Forest engineer.
Will Perry.
Perry.
And Will's on the pay it.
Yeah, he manages a
Boise
lot
too?
of the Boise. Boise engineer is Brett Perry. He's out of Lowman. He's actually got more area than Will does to take care of, or about the same, I guess. There's a huge
Yes.
crater between the Boise and Payette. You would think they were in two
Yeah, they
different
are.
worlds.
It's been that way forever.
Yeah,
Same thing in fire.
yeah.
Just couldn't even decide what color. I was like,
I like Valley County,
you
we
know,
call
white.
Yeah,
Not Valley County as a whole.
it. Yeah.
Yes,
So
a
did you invite
Forest
him?
Service person to come?
Did you invite Will?
I can shoot him an email and see if he wants to come.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
He might have, we've invited him to some commissioner meetings, and he's got stuff that he'll explain to you better than I can about
Yeah.
these border roads.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But we just signed the new, we're getting ready, we already did, signed the Perpetua agreement for 21-22. It's the same exact one, and I found down Schedule A maintenance for the Forest Service through me, transferring it to Midas or Perpetua in their agreement with us, to move snow slides. What we did to them this year by not helping them, if they're in the agreement. But where the one 2 years ago destroyed the road, that's not maintenance. I really put that on Perpetua, but a good chunk of money that we just
So Jeff, you've already signed the 20 agreement with Forest Service?
I'll just sign that.
Was
Yes,
Perpetua on that.
Oh, we're waiting.
specific-
It was
So
a-
that's their
MOU.
maintenance.
yes.
It's an agreement between both of us. So that's their responsibility, the county, if they mess up our road.
Kind of still responsible, but you gave.
They actually
Perpetua
do a
takes care
lot of
road
the, they do a lot of the work.
Stibnite
on it.
Yeah.
or
Well, there was
Yellow Pine.
kind of a big battle with that because they wanted to close the Stibnite Road. And the village, I mean, that's a lot of people going back there recreating. We just couldn't see that
There's a
happening.
lot of country out
Right.
there.
So we went and battled on that one.
I think the further conversation, maybe, I'm thinking the Forest Service, because they're obviously the ones that we are legally obligated to. There's a lot of reasons for those Forest Service roads. Scott Corporal might need to come in and talk about, we're looking at the Boulder Creek Road right now because we manage the Boulder Creek recreation area. So our people are up there every day. There's toilets have to be cleaned, all that kind of stuff. And IDL wants to have us take over that road. That has some concerns about it. Those are the kind of things that
Think
we
you
talk
should.
back and forth on. Yeah, is why would we take that road? We're already managing the campground up there. But at the same time, the county wants to expand our pay-to-stay campgrounds. We have to start charging people to come up here and use all of the recreation
Mhm.
assets we have. And that's money toward that. I'm sitting here thinking about, the HOAs that we go in and blade all their roads or snowplow their roads. Why aren't they paying us to do that? Why can't we make money at that versus just saying, no, we're not gonna do it anymore and, out to,
Been politically smart to just take on all that stuff. Oops. Where the rubber hits the road.
all of it.
They're check legal, I don't know that you could charge the HOA.
Well, and I don't know that we can't either because we're competing against private
Yes.
industry. Competition part of it is. We can on campgrounds because all the campgrounds are full. Everything recreationally up here is so overwhelmed right now. We need to be charging for the Barton put in for the routes
Those are
down
great
there.
impact fees.
They're
Yeah,
They
great
go
impact.
directly to
User
the
fees.
impact that's coming.
But that Cabarton thing, we need to do a little more work there, but you're right, that, we should be paying for that. I mean, you got business companies eventually getting pretty.
Absolutely. So we're looking at that right now. We're gonna do some ordinances and figure out
There's
what we
other
can charge.
opportunities.
Our new lease with Frenzy Wallace with snow grooming, we will be able to charge for people to park in Wallace going forward.
Wellington Campground in Smiths Ferry,
Mhm.
that takes care of itself. And it's donations, we don't require people to pay to stay there with their campers, but it's just donations, and, we asked for a $10 donation and brought in what?
We're gonna start charging.
Yeah,
It's time, unfortunately. The users that are, we were just having so much impact. And it's not fair to the taxpayers to have to pay for that impact.
I've been on
Got
a
to
lot
have.
of trips and stayed in a lot
hey, you
But
better
that's
where
one
you
of the
go.
reasons.
Mendocino, California, the city has a great one.
And that's the reason, though, that we may look at some of these FERDA roads. At the end of that FERDA road, can we put campground that the county can charge so that we can pay for the maintenance?
So.
Why are we talking backcountry roads next week if they've already signed the agreement? It's a new point, isn't it?
Oh, that's only one.
That was
It-
only
it
an
got
MOU,
many.
that was only an MOU for a specific section. Yeah.
So just something to keep in your mind, the Boulder Lake Road, we will not get paid for maintaining on state property. We'll get paid for a 1,500-foot section through there that's a cost share between the state and the service.
There's at Boulder Creek, I mean, we approved, and the county approved that, for
Yeah,
the entertainment center and stuff like that. I mean, I personally, and at least one of them, disagreed with that primarily because of the infrastructure. I mean, it's a mix match. They maintain when they log. Nobody else really has ever, there's got a use agreement on it. That don't mean you maintain it. County, then you get stuck with, I don't really understand why we took on that trailhead thing. You know, just the toilet thing, I mean,
Went on for years, so I don't know what the answer to that was.
and then the state goes up
But-
there and issues special use agreements for zip lines and
lines.
stuff like that, and that, I mean, we looked at it, really think, who's in charge here?
You
We
may
know
have to-
where it's going, the county will end up, with a problem.
Maybe Zip Line's making a lot
I
of
probably
money
need
off
to
of that.
pick your brain. I'm having lots of conversations with lots of individuals right now on why we're doing stuff.
So the snowmobile parking lot, how are we gonna
The gate.
It's gotta have somebody standing there the whole time.
try? Yeah, well, you got residents there too. You charge
The residents are gonna be a little different, I think.
Well, what about you sell passes?
I mean, I don't mind paying, but I leave my trailer there all winter.
Sell passes.
So,
Oh, you're the one. No, I'm just kidding.
There's about
He's one of the 15.
There's about 10 of us.
We better have a conversation.
Yeah.
We're
Because,
gonna have to put an area, because that's one of the
It has
issues.
to be an
You
area
guys
for
are leaving the
residents.
trailers in there and then we can't snowplay it, you know?
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Yeah, that's an interesting thing because you have property owners.
I'm totally with you, Gary.
And,
And that's one thing.
Trying to maintain all of that.
yeah,
He's
so
a
how
big
do you-
fan. Leslie ran the
the
road.
property owners would be more than happy
He's
to
got a
pay
lot
for
of
stuff.
stuff.
And that's maybe what it comes
See you
down
guys
to.
next month.
All right,
Whatever that is.
Okay.
Oh, I do.
And that might be what it comes down to, is we have very assigned slots. You know, that's what we were trying to figure out this year. Well, let's give you a tag so that the people that are back there, we know who that vehicle is, you know, and they're legal.
Totally understand, Gary.
Because I
I
appreciate
appreciate
their
everything you guys are,
goes in the letter.
all these little
I'm
tweaks
gonna
that
say
you put in my
10%.
head, I'm trying to implement them.
I don't want to accommodate that, but I think
Well, it should be
well,
fun
maybe
doing
Idaho
the
County needs to help
scenic
pay
River
for
Bridge, huh?
some of
Yeah, I
that
will
maintenance
go
there
for
too, because
Well,
we're providing stuff, you know, for the residents up there.
Oh, yeah.
They get away scot-free.
But he's gotta go right through there anyway.
To get to the other side, the trail's in.
there you go.
What to do?
Probably will.
Talk to your commissioners.
Yeah, Carol Lundgren's kind of bad about that. Yeah, Carol,
Oh, yeah.
she's the lead on all that. She's got that, she's got the garbage. I got the fire side.
Give your hands full.
Hey, how we doing?